sit back and get ready to have the most fun you ever had with an electronic device.
Well, if he comes out with a line of dungarees.
Did you just say dungarees?
I did, because I didn't want to say jeans, because his slogan would be
dungarees. For anyone who was born after 1970.
All right, everybody, welcome out to the Lager Room. It is Wednesday, March 7th, 2021. Jersey Johnny coming at you. With me, as always, is none other than Mr. RadioPete and Mr. Harry Lug Nutz. Say hello, guys.
Hello, guys.
Howdy.
Howdy.
By the way, it's April. It's April 7th.
Did I say March 7th?
Yeah.
Did I say
you
March
wished
7th?
It was March 7th.
I wish it was March 7th. Get rid of those last couple of games. April 7th, folks. April 7th. It is April 7th, not March 7th. April 7th. Okay. Thank you for pointing that out, Pete. So let's get on with the show now that we're in April.
It's like Groundhog's Day. Kevin Durant's going to come out, and if he sees his shadow, he's going to play for 3 games.
He's going to play two. He only gets 2 games. 2 games.
I'm gonna read you an interesting headline when we talk about the NBA, which a phrase that we thought we would never, that I thought you'd never see in print.
I cannot wait. Let's start the show off today by actually wishing a happy anniversary to the movie Major League. It was released 32 years ago today.
Wow.
Old. I was
the big 32nd anniversary.
32nd anniversary. It's a big one.
It's always a
32nd.
What do they call that? The platinum anniversary?
No. That's the shoelace anniversary.
Yeah.
That's the balsa. The balsa.
Something brown, something round, and
it's the ramen anniversary. You get a bowl of ramen for your anniversary.
Fantastic.
That's cool.
Well, we're about it's pretty cool. I was thinking about, maybe like asking you guys some like Major League movie trivia, throughout the thing too. But I figured neither of you would care.
We definitely need some filler. We definitely need some filler in this podcast.
We have been under 4 hours for several weeks in a row.
Right.
Right. There's no way we can.
Maybe we could do
short,
a top 10 favorite moments from the film.
Top 10 favorite moments from Major League, the movie. There you go. So.
Yeah.
Remember that one part when the guy was running, and then
remember that one time at band camp,
and then he fell down. That was great.
That was good.
I love that part.
Best line from the movie. What's the best line from the movie? We'll leave it at that. Give me your best line from the movie Major League, and we'll leave it at that.
Oh, what's his name? Euchre's.
Just a bit
outside.
Yeah, probably.
I like the other line when he says the one guy says you can't, the color guy says you can't do that, or the stats guy, whatever. So you can't say that on the air. He says, who cares? Nobody's listening anyway. I think he was doing this podcast. But in any event, what's yours, RadioPete, there?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to top Uke.
Yeah, Uke's definitely got the probably all 10 of the top 10 lines from that movie, but the one line that's not Bob Ueckers is probably the hey bartender, Joe Boo needs a refill. That was pretty fun.
Oh yeah. Well, and it's a classic, but check please.
Check.
Check. That's a good one. And also when they call Jake. He's in like Mexico or something.
Yeah.
And he's like, you assholes, you could have at least said you were from the Yankees or whatever.
You're going to pull that shit with me. At least you could have said you were from the Yankees.
Yeah, that was a pretty good line.
I like this guy threw at his own kid in a father-son game.
There you go.
And give them all a nice big shit burger.
Oh, that was good. SNY actually put out, they did they took the video from when they were in the locker room when he said that they were going to be released and let's win the whole thing,
Right.
They took that. They replaced the faces of all the characters with Mets. Pete Alonso, I think, was the Tom Berenger, Jake Taylor character.
Nothing left to do but win the whole.
Well, let's put it that way. SNY came out with that today. If any of the Mets watched it, that obviously did nothing for them today.
Yeah,
absolutely nothing. They just game is over just a little bit ago. 8-2 they lost. Now, granted, most of that was because of Doug Peterson. But whatchamacallit. Yeah.
Well, look, we're seeing analytics in motion, in action, I should say, right?
Isn't that a new workout tape? Analytics in motion.
I think so.
Analytics
with Billy Bean.
Look, who was the manager that the Mets hired originally? To coach this season. It was Beltran.
Yeah.
It wasn't the guy who's got the job right now. He got the job by default because whatever Beltran did, and was forced to resign. Right. So,
and what's funny is
that bigger names.
Isn't everybody just decide? Isn't everybody back in baseball from that mass firing, because of all of the people from the Astros, except for Beltran?
Yeah, except for Beltran. But my point is, there were bigger names out there, and the Mets decided not to go after any of them.
No, yeah,
and I think
Showalter, Dusty Baker, none of them. They didn't.
Bruce Bochy, these are guys who probably want to coach again. But those are guys that they wouldn't be able to control.
Right. You guys situations. Exactly, and they wouldn't be kind and polite to the new generation.
No, they wouldn't.
Players.
Rojas is young and inexperienced.
Here's an old school guy who you guys laughed at me in the preseason when I said, "Look out, they're going to have a good year because of their change at management." And the Phillies are 5-1, and they got an old school manager.
Oh yeah,
who happened to win a World Series and just wasn't player friendly enough.
And by the way, the Mets could have had him too.
Yeah. So
in fact, I'm sure Girardi would have probably preferred coaching the Mets than going to the Phillies.
The ownership got what they wanted, which is someone who's going to work by the numbers, right? Who's not going to make waves because he's young and he wants to keep his job. And so you get the this fiasco like what we saw on opening day.
I think it has more to do with how it's the player relations. I don't think the ownership really gives a shit. I think the ownership, a lot of them should want to win and should want somebody who's going to do the best job. I think in all sports, the players have too much fucking say in everything nowadays.
They do.
And you can't be Lou Piniella would not be able to coach today.
No.
Never.
No.
Could you imagine Billy Martin coaching today?
And the only thing that's going to possibly
like 2 innings of one game, and that would be the end.
Well, he would have got fired in the second inning and then rehired by the seventh. The only thing that's going to
have to sit out 7 games for every other DUI.
Maybe kind of change this is if one of those old school guys wins a championship,
like Girardi.
You don't have to do it by the numbers, right?
I mean, Dusty Baker's kind of an old school guy, but he's way more laid back than Davey Johnson is. Who's the Dodgers coach?
Joe Madden. Oh no, that's the Angels rather. Dave
Johnson.
No, not Dave. Dave.
I am forgetting his last name. Anyway, he's also an old school guy, but he's also not the in your face. Yeah, Joe Girardi type. And Joe Girardi's not even as old school as those two guys. I mean, Joe Girardi was playing when those guys were coaching.
But my point is Rojas is not going to give any pushback against this stuff.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
You're going to get nothing from him. He's going to run it by the numbers.
Here's my other question, too. He was hired. Now, remember, he was hired by the Wilpons and Brodie Van Wagenen. He wasn't hired by Steve Cohen and Sandy Alderson. So, that being said,
there would have been no issue with getting rid of him when they took over the franchise.
Right, but I think that they already had him in place, and the players do like him, or at least some of them do. And, the global consensus is that he's a player-friendly manager, and he didn't do too bad. He didn't do too great either, but he didn't like suck eggs last year. For what he had and everything going on with the pandemic and the 60-game season and so forth and so on. He got going a little bit.
Throw last year out. I mean,
obviously this is his make or break year, right? It's not like Steve Cohen came out and said, "Hey, we're winning the World Series this year," and any of us actually believed, or any Met fan actually believed, or even the players believed that they're going to win the World Series this year. Hey, stranger things have happened, but I seriously doubt it, and so does everybody else. But the bottom line is, they're going to be able to see what he's all about this year. He's off to a glory-filled start.
What do you have to see?
I mean, they're 1-2. I mean, it's.
I know it's 3 games into the season.
Too early to tell.
And Philly's obviously a good team.
Yeah, and the Mets
they kicked the shit out of the Braves all weekend.
The Mets' Achilles heel is as it has been for the last 5 years.
Is the bullpen?
Is their bullpen? It's horrible.
It wasn't the bullpen. Today was the starting pitching. Today was Peterson. David Peterson gave up 6 runs in 4 innings.
Yeah, so. but my point is here, and you're right. It's only a few games, but we have already seen instances of mismanagement.
You don't get a warm fuzzy. You don't feel like
I'm not getting a warm fuzzy.
He's not in charge. He's not making any. He's doing everything you would expect him to do. That everybody else has done and hasn't worked.
And then coming out after opening day and saying. He was thinking about leaving DeGrom in, but then he got together with the other coaches, and they sort of, as a consensus, decided to take him out. That's not how you do it. You're the manager.
You make your own damn decision. The bottom line is they sat before the game and they said they pregame that DeGrom hadn't faced live pitching.
None of these guys have. None of these guys have.
You're telling me all of a sudden pitchers can't throw 90 pitches on opening day?
Look.
Well, no, he hadn't
give
me
a break.
5-day routine.
The worst thing that's going to happen is DeGrom's ERA is going to go up. But if DeGrom goes 7 or 7.5 and gives up 2, the Mets are in a way better position to win than they are when they pull him in the 6th. Or it's just ridiculous. What was he at? 77
pitches. They said they didn't say he was going to go 77 pitches.
That's when Ron Guidry was just getting warmed up.
Right. They said he was going to go 6 innings. 6 innings, the average pitch for 6 innings.
It's not innings.
6 innings.
Ups. It's 6 ups now.
Get up like 6 times.
Like when you were in the schoolyard, right?
Yeah, get up.
When you divide up, everybody lived in the neighborhood nearby, and you divide up the team.
His ass was on the bleacher, and he had to get up.
Are they just going to start every inning with somebody on second and just have it hit off a tee?
Yes, that's what it's coming to. That's what it's coming to. But it's 6 ups, right? He said 6 innings. He was going. Yeah. The average pitch count for 6 innings is 90 pitches. He was at 77. He could have gone out in the 7th inning and maybe thrown 11 pitches and still been under that 90 pitch count. Who gives a shit? Who cares that he had to get up? It's about the arm motion. It's not about the ass on the seat standing up. Who gives a shit?
Remember when it was 100 pitches and you would consider taking somebody out? Oh, they're approaching 100. Let's get somebody up in the bullpen.
Right.
That's another. For DeGrom, that's another 2 innings.
He's thrown 20 pitches. We
that's another 2 innings.
Yeah.
At least an inning and a half.
At least. He didn't. He's the best damn pitcher in baseball. If he couldn't come back in for one more fucking inning, it would have been ridiculous.
If he goes out and throws 15 more pitches, right? Gets 3 outs, 5 pitches per batter. He's at 92. Oh, my God. And 7 innings. And this whole – look, the real hole – to me, the real hole in the theory of this 6 innings, and then we're going to let the bullpen do the rest, is you've got to have multiple guys in that bullpen who are on every day. Mm-hmm. You're not getting 7 or 8 out of your starter. You got to have 1, 2, maybe 3 guys out of the bullpen. And if any one of them is off in a close game, then all of a sudden the game is tied or you're behind.
Well, it's the same thing with the Yankees because I would say the Mets
with every team.
I would say the Mets have even more until they're healthy with their rotation. I would say the Mets have even more question marks at the 3, 4, and 5 or 6 spot in their rotation. So they're going to need your bullpen. So ride your horse as long as you can.
Absolutely.
So you don't. It's the same thing. I thought Cole should have won another inning last night.
Yeah.
With the Yankees bullpen is hurting, and of course, talent. Okay, 2 runs, 4, almost 5 innings, but now we have a half a game with our bullpen in there again. And so far, they've done well, but they can't do this all year. They just can't. They couldn't do it last year in a shortened season.
And when it comes to the Mets, the number 1 middle relief pitcher is out.
Yeah,
that's Seth Lugo, and he's out. If he was in there, there'd be no question.
But they're thin, and they don't have the depth or the performers.
And they had Miguel Castro come in, right? He pitched the 7th inning. He pitched 9 pitches, looked halfway decent, and then they took him out and put in May and Loop, and that's where all.
If DeGrom pitches 7.
If DeGrom pitches 7th, then you bring Castro in for the 8th, and you get.
Well, they might have brought him in for the 8th. They might not have brought him in for the 8th. They might have gone with Loop and May anyway. But
May didn't look too bad last night. But the bottom line is, they should have let DeGrom pitch another inning. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
but
the more guys you have to put in, the more guys that have an opportunity to fail. And
he's not Babe Ruth. It's not like you're asking him to come back tomorrow and play first base.
Right. The biggest problem with the other big problem with the Mets bullpen is the fact that their 2 most expensive relief pitchers suck. So, Dylan Betances and Jarice Familia.
Well, Betances used to be a problem across the river, but we still have a bigger problem than Betances, although the other day he actually was able to get 3 guys out. Yeah, I mean, look, relief pitchers are not what they used to be. I was just watching the Dodgers game, and Jansen came in and blew a save. The A's finally won a game. They beat the Dodgers in 10,
relief
of course,
with
the Little League rules. And, yeah, they're all over the place. And they're nut jobs. There really are nut jobs, especially closers. And why can't a closer pitch more than 1 inning anymore?
No one can pitch more than 1 inning. And look, the days of the lefty righty, like no one comes in the middle of an inning anymore.
No.
Everybody's got to start fresh right from the beginning.
Other than you're throwing,
unless there's like a number 1 power hitter up and you want to bring in the lefty to face him or whatever.
Right.
But everybody
doesn't do that anymore. You can't do that anymore because you got to face 3 batters.
Well, Nobody throws a curveball. Nobody throws a curveball. They throw a cutter, a changeup, which doesn't really matter. The cutter actually helps you if you're on the, most of the time. If you're a righty against a righty or a lefty against a lefty, no one throws a curveball anymore or has a number of breaking pitches where I don't even think it matters. I really don't. I don't think it matters anymore.
You put 4 or 5 arms of guys who throw 95 and up, and it's baseball is killing itself.
It is.
They're killing itself with these stupid rule changes. I mean, I can kind of deal with it.
This extra
7 inning double hitters.
This extra inning no. Bullshit. It shouldn't be a 7. There shouldn't be a 7 inning doubleheader. A doubleheader is a fucking doubleheader.
I agree,
okay?
But
there shouldn't be a guy on second base and a 1-1 game in the 10th inning.
I agree with that. I hate that one more than the 7 inning doubleheader.
That's ridiculous.
I don't like the 7 inning doubleheader, but it's more palatable than having to face 3 batters or putting a guy on second base to.
Absolutely asinine that these
terrible
changes are. And this is all Rob Manfred.
But don't have any doubleheaders. Don't have any doubleheaders because the doubleheader actually a 7 inning doubleheader now I'd be like, well, fuck it, I'm not putting a starter in this game.
Yeah, really.
Or maybe that's where DeGrom should pitch. He should pitch a 7 inning doubleheader.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe they'll let him go the distance. I don't know. I don't like the 7 inning doubleheader. I don't get it. If you can't sit through a doubleheader, don't come to a doubleheader.
It's all part of trying to speed up the game.
They want to speed up the game because they want it
like the game is too slow.
The game is too
slow. It can't hold the attention of people that are looking at their phones every second.
Yeah, but last time I checked it, look, I mean, they didn't seem to have a problem filling the stands in Texas. I don't think it's an attendance thing. I don't think people.
I don't think it's seats asses in the seats.
It's not an attendance thing. It's TV. It's TV. Yeah. It's the kid watching the kids watching on TV. They're not getting the younger kids that are watching. And I'm not talking about the 8-year-olds. I'm talking about the 16, 18, 21-year-olds.
Yeah, they're not hanging on to building that audience and hanging on.
And I got news for Mr. Manfred. They're not going to – I don't care if he makes the game a half an hour long. They're not going to watch it because they don't want to watch it. It has nothing to do with the length of the game.
And I think they're missing – I think that, they don't know who's watching it anymore because that 16-year-old kid isn't watching the game on a television.
No, it's harder to – well, see, they actually, depending on – how much of the information they can get more information about somebody who's watching on a computer or on the phone or on a tablet,
Sure.
I get it. But it's like anything else, they're going to check in and out.
You talk about all these.
You can't just look at the TV ratings anymore.
Right. You talk about all these new rules really quick. Let me just read these to you. I don't know if you heard this. These are experimental rule changes this year in minor league baseball. Ready? This is what they're doing. In each league, they're going to do something different. Here we go. In AAA this year, they're going to have larger bases with a less slippery surface. Okay.
Well, that would probably prolong my playing career.
I mean, I can see that for the old-timers game.
Right. Larger bases. I don't know, they're 6 feet wide.
Or the beer game.
The beer game, yeah.
That would help out with the beer game.
Unbelievable. Larger bases with less slippery surface.
Bases.
Yep.
Okay.
Double A.
Ribbed larger bases.
Now, is that for the runners? Is that for the runners or is that for the
I don't know what that's for. I really
They're actually so big that if you lead off, you could just lean over and steal second.
Lean over and take one nice leap.
Right.
It's like Twister.
There's been a lot of liners that have hit the bag and jumped over people's heads. Now, here's the question: is home plate bigger?
It says larger bases. I'm assuming a base, first base, second base, third base, home plate. So probably not. Anyway, Double A. Here's the rule for Double A. All 4 infielders must be positioned on the infield dirt. They cannot move back to the grass. They have to play in the dirt.
All right, so we're gonna
they
take
can't even, and they can't come up into the grass in the middle of the infield either. They have to play on the dirt.
So what they're going to do is people are just going to start having larger dirt areas behind. They're just
the whole infield is dirt. The whole infield's dirt. Right.
Yeah.
High
That's
A.
what I would do. Just make the whole thing
at the old at the old Shea Stadium, sometimes that was midway through the season. The whole thing was dirt.
Right. Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that field got ugly.
Especially after the Jets played on it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. During football season, that was
clearly this is a move to stop the shift.
Right.
Yeah,
of course.
So, but all 4 infielders must be positioned in infield dirt. Here we go. But it's got saying it like that means a third baseman can't move up or first baseman can't move up for a bunt. So now he's got to stay back on the dirt. So if you got if you got a speedy, good bunter at the plate, he's going to get on first base by bunting
the baseline is dirt, right? Does that count?
Well, you could stand on the baseline, sure, but if he bunts it in a little bit, what's he going to do?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's not you're giving the offense an advantage here, but
right.
You could creep up as long as you're in the baseline. But you know what?
Tiptoe down the baseline.
But if you're talking about a suicide, you're going to be right in the runner's way,
right? Yeah.
And then you're going to get, you can't impede the runner by.
Well, obviously, I'm sure if he's going, if he's trying to do a suicide squeeze, well, it depends on. Well, yeah, for a suicide squeeze, you're going to be in the runner's way, but for it's just stupid. Here we go.
But what if the third baseman is trying to steal home?
Right.
Again, I'm thinking of you're going to be right in scenarios. You have your back to him.
It's high A. All right. Pitchers must step off the rubber.
Is that the Native American League?
High A. Hey. Stop. Pitchers must step off the rubber.
I got it. I shouldn't have went there, but I got it.
To attempt to pick off. Pitchers must step off the rubber.
They must step off the rubber for a kickoff? What? Having kickoffs now?
To attempt to pick off. In other words, he can't just spin on the rubber and throw to first. He actually has to come completely off the rubber to throw to first. So
I thought that already was the rule.
Well, I mean, for a righty, that's easy. For a lefty, that's almost impossible.
Right, exactly. There's going to be a part of your foot on the rubber the way they're playing it now, And here's the kicker, too. Low A, limit of 2 pickoff attempts per plate appearance. So, in other words, you throw over to first twice, then the guy can take as big a lead as he wants because you can't throw anymore.
Why don't they just change it so that if you just bean the guy in the head while he's leading off,
I want to bean Rob Manfred in the head.
But you know what you should be able to do after that second pickoff attempt is
the second
take the throw home. Like how you throw a ball for a dog,
right?
And that way the guy takes off, then he just turn around, step off, and throw to second. You can get
but then that's a balk, right?
Should be.
It should be.
You're making the motion home. You're just not throwing the ball.
Yeah. I think when you make a motion towards home, that's a pitch, right?
Right. Well, if you release it, it's a pitch.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I think they ought to add that.
Right.
If you can only go for pickoffs, then you should be able to fake the throw.
And there's 2 supplemental rules to Low A. Low A West, and only the teams in the West, they're going to have a 15-second pitch clock. So a pitcher can't take a long time to.
I think that's a little fast, but I think that's not necessarily a bad step.
15 seconds.
And what happens if there's a pitch clock violation? Come on.
That's a ball.
It's a ball.
It's a ball. The better I imagine it's a ball.
So, I think 15 is a little.
They've done some things that I agree with. Okay, the automatic intentional walk without having to pitch 4 pitches out, to the catcher, that speeds things up. I'm okay with that. There's some things that I get make some sense, but I don't like any of this.
Right.
Why?
And here's the other one. In Low A Southeast is going to be automated balls and strikes, no umpires.
Low A Southeast, what is that? The Tidewater,
whatever. Yeah,
it's
Thailand.
Not Southeastern Asia.
Thailand Titans.
Southeast, yeah. Southeast,
Florida.
Not Southeast Asia, yeah. It's the Thailand League, yeah. I know. I got where you're going.
I think Don Baylor's still playing in the Southeast League. I know Jason Giambi is.
Yeah, really. But automated balls and strikes, no umpires.
Probably Jeremy too.
Ricky Henderson was still playing last time I checked.
Rob, if you read Rob Manfred's 10-year plan, in 10 years, this entire game is going to be a video game. Well, it's going to be a video game.
That's what the kids love. The kids love it. Video game.
Let's give them that.
Instead of making the
nobody's
video
going out and exercising and getting outside anymore.
Instead of making the game more like real life, we'll make real life more like the game. And
I'll tell you what. I think it's a demographic and a cultural thing, because I think that much like baseball, the people that are following baseball are exceedingly becoming more Latin, and there are a lot of the young kids whose families are first, second, or third generation Cubans, Mexicans, Bolivians, fill in the blank, Puerto Ricans, obviously. They're still following baseball because they're not removed from it, and their dad is still, or mom is still, interested in it and playing it with them. I don't buy into this that the kids are not going to follow this, and if they don't, then so be it. But it's
none of this stuff is going to help. I don't think.
No. Is there a problem? I really don't. I think there's a lot of other reasons that some people are turning away from baseball than just because the pitch count is the pitchers take too long to throw the ball.
I mean, I was a kid who used to sit in front of the television and try to keep score on my score pad. Yes, now I was a nerd. I understand that.
I kept score at home.
I was never bored by the game. Never.
Well, but
I still keep score. Go to a game.
Of course, I wasn't a Mets fan, so that helped.
Well, yeah, that helped a lot. But now, look, with being able to watch the game in all these different ways, you can do other things while the game is on. You can put it on in the back. Sure. You don't have to be sitting glued in front of your TV.
Well, I remember watching
worrying about missing something.
Turning on an afternoon game. You watch the first 3 innings. You go mow the lawn. You come back. It's the 6th inning, and you
absolutely.
You catch the end.
It was an all day thing. You did a couple things. Yeah.
Nobody says you have to watch the whole thing. God knows I don't watch all of.
But I think that's what Major League Baseball is trying to get, is more people who are going to be sitting and trying to make the game fast enough and interesting enough
so they can get it
sitting and watching.
Like half an hour sitcom, a half an hour ball game, a half an hour reality.
Yeah, but no other sport is like that. There's no half-hour football game. There's no half-hour basketball game. Yeah. And I would argue that a lot of people aren't watching. I think the one thing that helps football and to some extent basketball is halftime. And you don't have that in baseball.
Right. Well, let's do a halftime. After 4.5 innings, take a 15-minute break.
That'll speed the game up.
That sounds great.
There you go.
By
the way, I know you weren't. I know growing up, you weren't bored watching baseball because, as you said, you weren't a Met fan. The year you graduated high school, who won the World Series that year?
That was the one year the Mets won the World. Hey, my first baseball game was a Mets game. I saw Vida Blue pitch at Shea Stadium.
Oddly enough, my first baseball game was a Yankee game. So go figure.
I actually used to watch the Mets. I used to watch the Cubs too because it was on in the afternoon.
They were all day games.
I mean, I just was working and watching, the 2 games today. I was watching the Reds game, which was a great ending, and the Dodgers game. I just like the sport. I mean, I didn't watch the whole. I didn't sit there and watch every pitch.
I will watch every baseball game if it's on. If I'm not doing anything, if I'm doing something, I'll have it on in the background, no matter who's playing. It doesn't matter who's playing.
Well, and the thing
it's baseball.
The benefit to people nowadays is that they have access to anything they want on their anywhere they go. We couldn't watch Detroit versus Kansas City if we wanted to,
right?
Unless it was the playoffs. Half the games we weren't even on television. You have to listen to it on a transistor radio.
Sure.
Although along those lines, I just want to say. Boo, boo, boo to MLB.com, and they have they have MLB TV, right? You can pay.
Right. It's fucking expensive.
It's expensive, but they have the audio where you can just listen to the game and you can watch the game cast, the little animated thing, and that's $20 for a season or $2.99 a month. But the local games are blacked out.
Yep.
Yeah,
I just signed up for it, and I'm like, why can't I listen to the Mets game? It didn't used to be that way. What is the point? of saying, "Hey, listen to every game except the ones in your market."
If you want to make the game more popular, make the online broadcast of every game free.
I don't mind paying the $20.
But what I'm saying is that 16-year-old kids, even people in their 20s now and into their early 30s, they grew up not paying for anything. You can't get anybody to buy a CD or an album anymore. They expect music to be free. I'm telling you,
even if you're willing,
there's always a way around it. I don't. You want to watch the NFL for free? Ask a 16-year-old. They'll give you a Slovakian website where you can watch the Steelers and the Bengals. I mean, there's ways around it. I'm just saying.
The reason they're probably blacking it out is because of the local broadcast, right? I mean, it's because of the deal with because WFAN is broadcasting the Met games, and the WFAN is actually broadcasting Yankee games now. So I think it's CBS is 880 in New York.
WPIX,
one of them, yeah. Is broadcasting the Mets games. So the advertising dollars that they have on there, the viewership, they want people listening to that broadcast. They don't want it listening to.
Well, what kid is going to listen to it on the radio?
Or why not just take that broadcast and put that on the air and make it available through the MLB app? I'm willing to pay for it. I can't listen to it.
That's what I was going to say, because every local broadcast is available. Every local broadcast is available on SiriusXM satellite radio. And Sirius XM satellite radio obviously pushes dollars or whatever it is towards that broadcast. So if MLB does it too, then you could do it.
If you can't have it as an app on your phone in 3 seconds for free, no kid is going to watch it.
Well, that's the problem. And it's a shame too, because baseball,
Major League Baseball television is boomers and Gen Xers. That's it. Those are the only people that are paying for Major League Baseball Network.
And it's a shame to be.
And it's because a lot of people moved away from their hometown. To be honest with you, that's why
that's who the service apparently is for, because those are the only people that are going to make use of it. Is if you want to watch out of town games.
I love this time of year because I get the MLB channels for free until April 10th or something like that.
And look, God forbid I was a Philly fan. Right. And I got this service, and I'm in New York, so I can listen to the Philly games, except when they come to town. Right. 9 times a year or whatever the hell it is, and then I can't listen to it. I mean,
if you're in a certain part of New Jersey, you get the blackout for the Yankees, you get the blackout for the Phillies and the Mets.
Yeah,
Jersey, they deserve it.
Thanks. But in any event, but just to speak of that one thing, I'm trying to get to it. Transistor radio. Baseball is, more than any other sport, a perfect sport to listen on the radio.
Of course it is.
And I can't tell you how many games
I used to put
on the radio.
John, there's nobody under the age of 20 that even knows how to turn on a radio.
What a radio is.
Put the audio on the TV, actually, when the game wasn't on, when I didn't have any TV at all.
Right.
I went years without having any cable service or anything. And I used to put the MLB app on the television and listen to it and watch the game day on the TV while I was doing whatever.
I learned long ago the way you piss off a kid nowadays is to deny them Wi-Fi.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
the ice cream man.
Oh, give me a.
Is that an app or is that the actual ice cream?
It's the ice cream man going past my house.
Wow. So we're, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Radio Pete here. He's broadcasting from the 50s.
Yeah.
And
excuse me for a minute. Now, if I came back with
get me a toasted almond bar.
If it went like this for 3 minutes,
right,
I would mute too.
It would take longer than 3 minutes.
And then I came back with a big twist with sprinkles on it. You guys
push up
super
pop.
jealous.
Just
push up pop. No.
Give me a toasted almond or a chocolate eclair. One of those.
You know what's great is a twist shake.
I like the ice cream cones with the peanuts on top, but you had to let it melt a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the toasted almond bar. That was always my favorite. Yeah. And that ice cream cone was perfect. I don't know how they did it, but it was just perfect with you pulled the top off and it was just like perfectly indented.
King cone.
Yeah.
King cone with the nuts and the chocolate on top.
Yeah, with the waffle cone.
Boy, how quickly did we get sidelined from railing about?
I don't know. What were we talking about?
Watch and listen to baseball. The ice cream man. The ice cream man.
Ice cream man. Give me some ice cream.
anyway. That all sucks. Go to hell, MajorLeagueBaseball.com.
It's absolutely absurd. It really is. Getting back to actual baseball to wrap up the baseball talk.
Well, actually, let me throw. Go ahead, but I got a couple of quick things to throw at you. But go ahead.
No, go ahead. You throw them.
Well, just a couple of things I wanted to mention over the past week because we were on obviously last Wednesday right before opening day. So,
I want to ask Harry some stuff about the Yankees.
Last Friday night, Trevor Bauer looking good. No hitting the Rockies until he had to hit and run the bases, and then he went to shit. So, more proof positive that pitchers shouldn't bother hitting.
He had another good start. What was it, yesterday? Or?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Also, I think it was opening day for San Diego. Blake Snell, 4 2/3 innings, 8 strikeouts. Sit down, kid. Analytics in action. Look, Snell, right? This is the guy from the World Series.
It's the same thing, right?
Here's
Analytics is kicking his ass no matter where in the country he is.
I can sort of understand it at this time of the year. Okay?
Yeah, but should be able to. I remember
4 innings?
4 2/3. 4 2/3.
All right.
14 outs. And I understand what you're saying.
So there was no problem. It was just time because that's what the book said.
It was pitch count. Yeah.
He was cruising, and then it's like, all right, you're done.
And I seem to remember.
We want to have a 4-inning pitcher for the whole season, as opposed to having him go 5, then 5.5, then 6, then maybe push it. I mean, God, Catfish Hunter is just sitting at home laughing.
Oh, terrible! All right, here's another one. Max Scherzer. For the Nats, his debut gave up 4 home runs. I don't think he's ever done that before.
4 solo shots, right?
4 solo shots, including the first pitch of the season. Yeah. Ronald Acuna Jr. knocks it out.
He did not look happy. That was the guy who needed a pitch count. But other than that, he was kind of lights out once he got going.
No, other than the home runs.
Other than giving up 4 home runs, he was great.
But that's baseball nowadays. That's Garrett Cole too. Whenever he gives up a run, it's usually a solo home run.
Yep. Right. And then, of course, Juan Soto, my pick for MVP, walk-off single in 9th to win it. So, Mike Scioscia, manager of Team USA for the Olympics. How about that?
There you
go. What the hell, though? It's the professional national team. That's the official name.
Professional
what
national
the team. Fuck is a professional national team? Well, we know what it is. It's Russian hockey all those years ago.
I think they're just trying because
the amateur American team.
There will be times when there's an American team that's made of college kids. They're trying for the Olympics. There's going to be because every other year when there's the Pan Am Games or whatever else there is, the pros don't play. So the U.S. national team. That's the U.S. national team. So what they're trying to do is say, okay, this is the professional national team.
So it's like the dream team in basketball for baseball.
Although with that, it remained professional after that, even though it maybe wasn't always the top of the top line.
It wasn't always the 5.
It wasn't always Jordan, Bird, and Magic. Yeah,
right, yeah.
Barkley being your 5th best player.
Right. Okay, a couple others here. Speaking of San Diego, bad luck or bad news for Tatis. Hurting his shoulder.
Well, he's not gonna have surgery. It's a day-to-day
10-day injured list, partial dislocation, and this is apparently he's had issues with the shoulder and dislocated it before. So sign him to a big contract.
I heard it was because he was lifting his wallet in and out of his.
It could have been.
That's the problem.
It could have been.
Totally problem.
Big of the guy.
Yeah. So I hope he gets better though. He's a great player. And then really the other thing I wanted to just bring up and probably was talking about Odor and the Yankees and what are they going to do with him? Is it, are they worried about maybe Voit not coming back or not coming back healthy? Are they worried about Urshela?
Odor's a second baseman, isn't he?
Odor's a second baseman, so they would have to
but
move
he's
DJ
also,
over to first.
He's also played some third and he's, he can move.
But he actually faltered when he wasn't playing second in Texas. That's the problem.
Yeah. Well, look, it's not like he's a game breaker.
Look, I think the Yankees are a little thin in the infield. Here's the thing that I think I hope that the Yankees are doing is that Gio Urshela was and who's the guy Andujar were both playing shortstop
at the same time.
No, yeah. Well, together they could do really well.
Yeah, so
as long as they're both on the dirt, it's okay.
Yeah,
exactly.
No, they were They did time playing shortstop in the preseason, and I still think Gleyber Torres is not a natural shortstop. He's just not, and he
doesn't look comfortable
right now. I know Andujar's out hurt, but Andujar, going back 2 years, was one of the Yankees' best bats. He's not the best. The experiment in the outfield was a failure. He's horrible, and the Yankees have way too many outfielders. But you look at Andujar at third, potentially Urshela at short. You got a bunch of options for the Yankees. They kept Tyler Wade so that late in the games they can move DJ to first. Voigt's out. I just think that. I think the Yankees are going to make a move at shortstop at the end of this year if Gleyber Torres does not perform. I really do.
I think you're right, and I think it's probably going to be Trevor Story. But
see, now what they're saying about Urshela is they're measuring his velocity on his throws,
right?
And it's dropped like 5 miles an hour.
I think he's hurt. I think he's playing a little hurt.
He had a bone chip removed, right? A piece of bone, a piece of
and
something.
He was a late inning replacement a couple years back for Andujar. So they took Andujar out. The Yankees always, that's the one thing, Aaron Boone, 8th inning, you're up 1 run or even down 1 run. It seems like everybody comes out, sometimes even Stanton or Judge, and in comes, I call them, the guys who can catch the ball. In comes Brett Gardner, in comes Tyler Wade, DJ goes to first. It's a
But the question with Odor, like, what do you do with him? I mean, he's a veteran, so if they want to send him to the alternate site, he can refuse that.
Sure.
And they might just say, hey, look, we got a shot at a championship. If you want to be on this team, then you do what we tell you. But Tyler Wade still has an option.
Tyler Wade has an option.
So
he'll be the one left out.
So he might be the guy to go.
But here's the thing, though.
Bruce might be the guy who goes down.
Here's the thing, though.
Tyler Wade's got great speed. He's a great defensive second baseman. He just can't hit the side of a barn with.
They've already made room for Odor, though.
Yeah.
And by sending down the pitcher that relieved and pitched 6 innings of 1 hit baseball the other day.
I think they wanted more options. I think they wanted more options to platoon guys and move people around to get their lineup. Plus, Odor, correct me if I'm not mistaken, isn't he a left-handed hitter?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the Yankees don't have a left-handed hitter. They have Aaron Hicks, who's a switch hitter, who had a hit today at an RBI, but is batting 111.
Although, well, listen, he's a lefty, but I think against Bautista, he gets better with the right.
Definitely a right hook.
Yeah.
Definitely.
He throws righty, both punches and the ball.
And now let's talk about his first name. It is pronounced Rugned, right?
I don't know. It's Roughneck. It's
Roughneck, isn't it?
Is it It's Roughneck?
Isn't that a type of trout found only in North Dakota?
Ruffy.
Roughned. No, Orange Ruffy. That's
Orange Ruffy.
That was his. If he went to the Orioles, that would be his nickname. It would have been
Orange Ruffy. That's the name they gave to what was the name of that fish? I think it was the actual name of the fish was like Slimehead or something like that.
And they called it an Orange Ruffy.
But there was a lot of them, and it was pretty tasty. But nobody wanted to eat Slimehead, so they called it Orange Ruffy.
Orange Ruffy, yeah. But no, Rugned. What his name comes from? I read this. His name comes from his grandfather's name was Doug, and his grandmother's name was Nettie. So they took Doug and Ned and put it together, and it's Doug Ned. But apparently, there's a family thing about naming all kids that whose name starts with R. So they changed the D to an R, so it's Rugned.
Actually, the true story is his dad's name was Doug and his grandma's name was Roughneck. But
where does the GH come from? Where does the GH come from between Doug and Nettie? It's
Rougned.
No, I thought there's an H in there as well. Maybe I've always been reading it wrong.
Oh no, there is an H in it. Rough.
It's Roughneck.
Roughneck.
It's silent H.
It's a silent H.
All right, I got one more for you.
Yeah.
Harry Lug Nutz, you must be excited because All-Star Weekend. Going to Colorado.
Coming to Denver.
Including the draft. Now, if you could go to one event, would it be the game, home run derby, or the draft?
The game.
Okay.
I thought he was going to say.
Yeah.
The later rounds of the draft.
The only drafts I go to are the kind that come out of an actual tap.
Yeah.
Well, if you go to the game, you can have a draft or two.
$12
or $3
draft.
or Well,
it's funny that
what else are you going to do with that? Listen, I saved $20 not subscribing to MLB, so I can get a beer and a half.
The first 3 years of Coors Field, the only beer served was Budweiser. I'm not joking.
That makes sense.
Not joking, because they had a contract that was left over before they moved it. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I love it. That's awesome. And there's no other beer but Coors there now?
No, it's Colorado. It's Denver. I mean,
I was going to say they got to be something else.
Yeah, there's plenty. You could spend $150 on beer. You get in the game for $3, but you spend $250 on beer.
Yeah. Exactly.
On a related note, how do we feel about baseball pulling the game out of Georgia?
I don't think there was much of a choice. As much
I'm impressed with Major League Baseball. I really am.
Whether he wanted to do it or whether he didn't want to do it, whether it was a good move or bad move, whatever side you're on with it, however you're looking at it, I don't think Manfred had much of a choice because Delta and Coke both said, biggest sponsors of Major League Baseball said, get out of town.
When corporate America's largest corporations are finding something wrong with the legislation passed in Georgia, then it's time for people to go, you know what? There's no argument here. This false narrative is just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
You're right, but all I'm saying is that no matter what side Manfred himself was on, he didn't have a choice but to say
money talks.
Money talks.
But what I'm saying is that finally, maybe the corporations, and maybe you could be cynical about it and say it's about their pocketbooks, but maybe they're finally saying, you know what, we're not going to lose anybody. No, Mitch McConnell's isn't going to fly Delta because we stood up for this. And even if he does, who gives a shit? Win-win.
So in any event,
I thought it was interesting to see a lot of the chatter about people. I'm not watching any baseball. I'm not buying any products. I'm not buying any merchandise.
There was 3 people that were saying that.
No, it was. I'm sure it's a lot.
There was actually a ton.
Ted Nugent was pissed. He's not gonna.
And
he's gonna kill 7 elks tomorrow.
They were like, they're not gonna get my seat my ass in a seat at the stadium. And my reaction was, good fucking riddance.
Here's
you will not be missed.
Here's the thing.
You will not be missed. Take a look at what happened in Texas.
Here's the thing I got to tell you. There's 2 things with that whole thing. Just two things that I feel bad for. One, all the small business owners around.
Or just the city of Atlanta, because Atlanta is this incredibly, primarily African-American city in the heart, a big blue dot in the heart of, Georgia.
Feel horrible for that. And that's number one. And number 2, there was going to be a big all-star game dedication to, or tribute to, or whatever it was, to Hank Aaron.
Which they're still going to do.
Well, still do, but it's not in Atlanta now. So
that's kind of a shame.
Right. Did you see the cover up on all of the Braves uniforms? They actually took a patch of jersey and just sewed it over the All-Star patch on their jersey. So it's just like it's almost like a prize. Like if you peel it back, there's the All-Star patch, and I'll put it back. But
they took the 2021 and made it 2031.
But anyway, I don't know. But yeah, either way, it's in Denver. So we'll have to that week in July we'll have to do the show from out there.
I do the show from out here every week.
You should do. I would have said we could do it from a bar a block and a half away from the stadium, but unfortunately we can't.
You don't want to go to any of the bars a block and a half, especially on an All-Star weekend.
No. I just mean one particular one.
Oh,
Chapultepec.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, it's going to be a kombucha bar, I'm sure.
Is it really?
goat yoga and kombucha.
All right. Well, let me ask you one more question in baseball. I know this is for Harry. How do you feel with Roughneck Odor coming up and them sending Michael King down after his stellar outing on Sunday?
I don't understand it. I don't understand why you send King down. My take so far is the Yankees pitching has exceeded my expectations from top to bottom. Bullpen starters, they just can't hit the ball.
Right.
I mean, the last 2 games aside, but they're down 2-1 to the Orioles now in the bottom of the 6th. Gardner's up with Sanchez. They just the big hitters are just not really hitting.
Yeah.
And, I don't understand that. I thought King was lights out. I thought that was a great game that he pitched.
He was the first Yankee reliever to throw 6 innings and allow 1 hit or fewer since
it's not
Bob
like,
Shirley in 1986.
It's not like going away. It's not like he was traded to another team. But
they sent him down. They could bring him back up again, but I just thought it was silly to do that. But hey, they got to make room for him. Who else are they going to send down?
You can never have enough pitchers.
Yeah, exactly.
If they can't score, they can't win.
This is true. All right. Anything else in the world of Major League Baseball going on?
Look, the Reds, what a great start for them. And this kid from Detroit, what a absolute Cinderella story so far.
First Major League at bat, he had a home run. His second day, he had a grand slam.
How do you pronounce his name?
I'm trying to figure that out right now.
Yeah, Babadook.
Babadook.
Babadook. I thought it was a Badu, but I don't know. Erica Badu? I have no idea.
I don't think it's Erica Badu.
No.
Where is he?
It's Badu, isn't it?
I think it's Badu. Yeah.
Is it Badu?
But he's off to a hell of a start. And look,
Akil Badu. Yeah, Akil Badu.
Akil Badu. That sounds right.
Akil Badu.
Yeah, the Dodgers look good. Other than the Dodgers' Achilles heel is their closer.
Jansen.
And other than that, I still think they're the team to beat.
Now the A's, and I thought they were going to do better. I mean, granted, it's only 6 games in the season for them, but they're winless.
Well, they won today.
They did win today?
Yeah, they beat they tied the game up Jansen in the 9th, and they won it with the Little League rules in the 10th.
Unbelievable with that.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah, there you go. They won today. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, the AL East is a bit topsy-turvy, right? I mean, Baltimore's terrible.
Baltimore got out to a good start.
Baltimore's terrible, but they're tied with the Yankees for first place.
Well, if they win today, they'll be.
If they win today, they're in first place. Yeah.
Tampa Bay is 2-4. We didn't expect them to be
as
good,
early.
but maybe not at the bottom. No, it is. But look, you got Houston's 5-1, Phillies 5-1.
I'll tell you what, the
Cincinnati's 5-1.
The Blue Jays look good. The Twins look good. The Tigers look way better than I thought they were going to be. The Astros are off to a great start. I'll tell you, I think Texas is going to be a team to reckon with, and I wasn't quite sure of that going into the season. And
Angels look pretty damn good too.
They do. And the Cincinnati Reds, they're not missing the. They're not. They are clobbering the baseball. I think they've averaged over 9 runs a game so far.
57 runs scored.
57
in 6 games.
In 6 games.
And 26 allowed. So
do the math.
I mean, a little over 4.
Yeah.
The plus 31.
Yeah.
And that is let's see, who is the Dodgers? The Dodgers are plus 15. Houston is plus 27. Minnesota's plus 16. The Yankees are plus 11. So far and away, they are not only scoring them, but also, there's a handful of teams that have given up less than 26, but not a whole lot.
Everybody's lost already, though. I mean, I think we're going to see a lot of parity this year, and
I think that's a good thing, though. I do.
Yeah.
This way, it's not nobody's running away with anything. It's everybody, or most, not obviously everybody, but a lot of teams are in it down the stretch. And I don't mean down the stretch the last 2 weeks. I mean in August, there's nobody that's out. You know what I mean? But that's a good thing, or nobody that's a clear runaway kind of thing.
I mean, look, for the Yankees, Corey Kluber looked okay. Talon, he gave up 3 hits, 2 earned runs in almost 5 innings. Coles had 2 strong outings, 1-1, and was a no decision on another that they wound up losing. I think Jordan Montgomery was okay. I think the Yankees starting pitching is going to be all right. I just would like to see them go a little deeper into games because this bullpen is going to be worked to death if they don't get some innings out of this.
Well, they're going to, I mean, on that note, all right, if Major League Baseball is going in the direction of starting pitchers aren't going longer than 4 and 5 innings on a regular basis, they're going to have to expand the rosters because you're going to kill everybody that you have in the bullpen.
I agree.
They absolutely have to expand the rosters.
I agree.
Either that, or you're going to have to send down a couple of your first teamers for a few weeks to just sort of rest,
or have a 40-man roster and then just designate 13 of them that they can't play. Just move them around,
right. Yeah, but you guys just hang out. You're not doing anything.
You're not doing anything today, but you pitched last night. Perfect. You're sitting down today. You're out. Go sit in the stands. Have a hot dog and a beer.
It's fun to watch baseball again, and I'm glad it's starting, when it normally starts. And so far, with the exception of the Nationals, I don't know why these guys are not vaccinated yet. Anyway. I'm
sure they will be soon.
I just hope that the erraticism and the local decision making at these ballparks does not cause just super spreader events, because I don't know how 40,000 people at Arlington Stadium cannot be more of a risk than 14,000 everywhere else, or 8,000. We can wait another 4 weeks to get this. That's
the thing. It's going to be interesting if the players all get the vaccine, and there's 3 to 4 million shots in the general public almost on a daily basis now, right? It's a couple million each.
Last time I checked, most of the Major League Baseball players have not been vaccinated.
Yeah.
But if you get them vaccinated, then you put 40,000-50,000 in the stands, and then you have Then you have a spike in
Let's say just if you want to come into the game, then you have 40,000 needles at the baseball game. Just stick people in the arm as they come in.
Well, you get a card, right? You get
a punch card.
I got a card that says when I got my first vaccine, and they're going to write there when I get my second. So,
there's an app now. You don't have to show your app. You don't have to have it on your app.
That's true. Right. You don't even need a piece of paper.
Thank God for the card. I want a card. I don't want a fucking app, another app on my goddamn
phone. The vaccine passport that
that's
right. The conservatives are railing against.
And it's like you can't go anywhere in your phone
you can't go anywhere unless you have your passport. Yeah,
here's your passport. Here's your passport.
So let them all be. Unfortunately, and it's the politicians that are being stupid, as well as the people, right?
Yeah.
By governors, by opening these things up, and the people are going to go because they can't help themselves, and then they're all going to get sick, or at least some of them are going to get sick, and then you're going to have an empty ballpark in Texas.
Then it'll be empty, right. Or there'll just be another 60,000 fans or 50,000 fans that go and
look.
They're right.
We're not going to solve any of those issues. I do want to take this time to congratulate both of you as Jets fans in the timely handoff,
both of us,
and dismissal. Well, you have half a household as a Jets fan. You actually kind of
I have,
you watch them, you tolerate them.
I tolerate them more than you do, but yeah.
What do you think? What do you think of Sam Darnold actually going away?
First, I will say thank you for that. I appreciate that, and I will just let it be known that I am the biggest Jets fan in the world.
Well,
and here's I'm going to explain why. I don't know that much about the team history, or I can't name more than 3 or 4 players, whatever. However,
yes you can.
Well, maybe. However, I had a child that I groomed and forced to become a musical composer, just so that he could write a fanfare that we could use on this podcast one day.
Mm-hmm.
And he's 19 now. That's planning.
That is.
That's number one. And number two, I had a second child, and I forced him when he was young and cute to say something funny about the Jets, which is going to be part of their sounder in this upcoming season.
And this
he's 16.
What you're saying is that if you're a Jets family, patience is a virtue.
And this is the fanfare.
Ooh.
This has been in the works.
This is nice.
For nearly 2 decades.
I think George Lucas would be happy.
I don't know why it's not playing, but
I was playing.
It was. I was hearing it.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I know why.
So I'm just saying that's how big a Jets fan.
This is it.
I've been plotting and planning and using my children to create.
I'm seeing visions of Mark Gaston while I listen to that. I see a mullet flapping in the breeze.
16. There you go.
Yeah. Well, they fell short. They fell short of that goal too.
Yeah, I know.
Thank God. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe they'd have Trevor Lawrence if they reached that goal.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's talk more about the Jets move and what that actually did for the team or didn't do for the team when we get to NFL. Really quick, right now, we should probably do our top 10 list.
All right.
So about
that? Since our top 10 list is still baseball related, so yeah, we'll go back to baseball. Here we go. All right, this week our top 10 list this week is top 10. Oh, that's the wrong one. That was last week. This is this week. Let me get it right here. Hold on.
Top 10
spitball pitchers
top
of
10
all time.
Spitball pitchers of
top
all
10 best
time.
hot dogs.
Top 10 professional wiffle ball players.
Top 10 pitchers in Major League Baseball history. There we go.
If ever there was an easier top 10 list, I don't
this
know what
is
it is.
by far the easiest one we've done. And by easy, I mean hell no.
It wasn't as hard as I it's hard to get it down to 10.
It's hard to get it down to 10.
I think the difference with this one is most of our lists, we kind of agree on the top 2, 3, 4, and then it's that 5 to 10 where we have some, other than my, whatever I put in at number 2. This one, I think,
we didn't fit in prime.
I mean, 1 and 2 were pretty much kind of set, but
crazy.
3, 4, 5, there's a half a dozen names at least that you could put realistically in any of those spots.
You really could, and it's all speculative.
Criteria was.
You look at some of these numbers of some of these old school pitchers, and they're just staggering.
Yeah.
And I mean, you even look at numbers of people like Greg Maddux and Randy Johnson and Roger Clemens from the 80s and 90s, and you're like, damn.
Yeah.
This is one of those lists though where I'm like, there's maybe 3 or 4 guys that are still pitching today that might, with a long shot, get onto this list, but not many.
No.
Yeah,
not many.
All right, well, let's have it there.
There's a few. So let's begin it here, and I'm just going to pull this up so I can have it aside.
Number 10G.
Here we go. Number 10F. No. We have 2 ties, folks. Shocker, we have ties in this. We actually do. There are legitimate ties. We have a tie for 10th and a tie for 8th. So we'll start off with 10B. 10B is Mr. Lefty Grove. Lefty Grove. He pitched from 1925 to 1941. He had 300 wins. Had a career ERA of 3.06, and he pitched 1.91 strikeouts per walk. Anything either of you want to add to that?
If he'd had 301, he would have made my list.
The funny part is he pitched right-handed.
No, I will say this. This is how you know he was great. There's an old Nintendo, the NES system game called Baseball Stars.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a number of teams that are preset in the game, and one of them is like the All-Stars game. And one of the pitchers is lefty. Mm-hmm. And when I was first playing the game as a young man, I had no idea who Lefty was, and later found out the lefty in that game, which was designed by Japanese game makers, picked Lefty Grove as one of their starting pitchers. So you know he was good if he made it into the Baseball Stars All-Star game.
All-Star, yeah.
On the on the Nintendo Entertainment System.
There you go.
Circa, I don't know, 1987 or something like that. Yeah, not 87 is too late.
87 is too late, yeah.
So there.
So there you go. Number 10B, Lefty Grove, right? So bring us to number 10A. Number 10A is Tom Terrific himself, the franchise, Tom Seaver. 1967 through 1986, he had 311 wins in his career, career ERA of 2.86, and he pitched 2.61 strikeouts per walk. The beginning of his career, obviously, the last 8 years of his career tailed off a bit, obviously, but the beginning of his career when he was pitching, I mean, he was going up against guys. He was like, we talked about this before, like Steve Carlton and Phil Niekro and all those guys, and he was better than them. At least as good, if not better.
Well, his career ERA is still staggering, even after those latter
with the bad
years.
Yeah, absolutely. Not even bad, just downtrodden.
And look, he's done something much like Joe Namath. He's going to go down in the lore of playing for the Mets because he did it, So, I mean, he, I think still to this day, I mean, when people ask who's the greatest Met of all time, I think he's probably the people's first choice, right?
We'll do that list at some point during the season.
Yeah,
he's going to be number one on mine. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So, well, there you go. Number 10A, the franchise. Tom Sieper. Brings us to number 9. Number 9 is Mr. Sandy Koufax. Sandy Koufax played from 1955 to 1966. Had 165 wins. Had 165 wins, 87 losses. He pitched 2,324.1 innings. Career ERA of 2.76, and he pitched 2.94 strikeouts per walk.
And I think it's his postseason numbers. Because, I mean, he didn't pitch all that long. I'm not sure what ended his career. I'm not sure if it was an injury or what.
But it was arthritis, I think.
Yeah, but his postseason numbers were fantastic.
Staggering.
Yeah, we talk about kind of the Koufax rule, right? You've got to do it for over a length of time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's certainly – actually, I heard some guys talking about they were talking about DeGrom. And they were saying, well, at this point, if he stopped pitching now, you wouldn't put him in the Hall of Fame because he doesn't have the longevity. But Koufax, you're right, with those postseason numbers, and he was just so dominant, even though it was for a shorter period of time, that to me, he definitely belongs on this list. I know there are a lot of people who say he didn't do it long enough, but when he was at his best, he was the best.
And he was just one of those guys who connected to a certain generation of fans. And, his background was something that you didn't necessarily see in pro sports a lot, especially as, not pitching on the Sabbath and blah, 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 blah. I mean, it was controversial at the time. But I think for a lot of young Jewish kids, he was certainly a hero in a lot of ways.
Yeah, sure.
And for a lot of people, he was the right guy at the right time, and he seemed to connect with a lot of people, even beyond the baseball fans.
Right.
And wasn't a huge guy, wasn't necessarily overpowering, but he was just a great pitcher. And for those 3 or 4 or 5 years, he was arguably, much like Seaver, just dominant.
Yep. He was dominant. Yeah,
he was. And there you go. Number 9, Sandy Koufax. That brings us to number 8B. Number 8B is Mr. Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan pitched from 1966 to 1933. 1993.
Yeah, he pitched from 1906 to 2006.
1986.
He pitched for 100 years.
He was
he
longest.
died when he was 89, but he had pitched for 100 years.
But he pitched for 5 years after that.
That's right.
So now he was,
but only in relief those last
5
years.
66 to 93. Had 324 wins, career ERA of 3.19, and he pitched 2.05 strikeouts per walk. Longevity is with Nolan. He's just
and the best fights.
Yeah,
the best fights ever.
Still.
Yeah, if you go to that old age home in Encino, he's still throwing it down.
Yeah, man. and I guess the thing about Ryan is he was who he was, and he did what he did.
Did it for a long time.
For his entire career, right? The Ryan Express was the Ryan Express, and it was from day one until his last day on the mound. That was who he was. He just came at you, and he threw hard.
Well, he's one of those last guys who you'd still see out there pitching in the 8th and 9th inning, down 7-3.
Yeah,
I mean, he struck out 12 guys. He just happened to, have a couple unearned runs and give up 4 runs, but he was just part of that generation. He probably, I don't know. As a kid, I always felt, and he was even older when we were kids. He wasn't a young Nolan Ryan. He was already seemed a little older, but just seemed scary. Just dominant, one of those guys, kind of like Clemens on steroids, just mean.
Wait a minute, kind of like Clemens on steroids.
Well, kind of like Clemens when, against the Mets in the World Series.
Throw bats. And,
I'm not going to say he was on steroids at that point, but he seemed to really be amped up.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he liked Mike Piazza too much.
I think he wanted to stick that bat in.
Well, he ate it after he broke it. He ate it in the dugout in between innings.
Yeah, Ryan was a guy, if you thought twice about it, you just wouldn't mess with him.
Yeah, and it just, I don't know. I kind of remember him getting in fights and then still pitching. That might be just a myth that I'm making up. But, I don't think he got thrown out after fights then. I think it was just the other guy started it. I beamed him in the head. But,
I think the umpires didn't want to throw him out of the game because they were worried he was going to come after them.
Yeah, that's right. Probably.
That's right.
Oh, you're good. Yeah, go back. Yeah.
Well, because he could just easily throw at the umpire's head the next time that guy was behind the plate and he was on the mound.
Exactly.
You throw me out, I'm going to bean you.
Right.
He's like the Clint Eastwood of pitchers, That's what he always reminded me of.
Unbelievable. That's funny.
Number 8B.
Number 8B, Nolan Ryan. So there we go. Number 8A, Gregory Maddux. Greg Maddux. He pitched from 1986 to 2008, 23 seasons. He had his numbers were He won 355 games, lost 227 games. So 355 and 227. 5,000 innings pitched, 5,008.1 to be exact. Career ERA of 3.16, and he had 3.37 strikeouts per walk.
He was more of a strikeout guy than you think.
Yeah,
and I remember, but I just remember him being part of that early on, the 1-2-3 punch of those Braves pitching staffs before Smoltz moved to the bullpen. I mean, it was
Maddux and Glavine and Smoltz.
I mean, oof.
Well, he's got the most strikeouts per walk on these.
Almost he's just shy of 4. So that's
he was. I mean, he had heat, and he was definitely a combination pitcher. He had power. It wasn't like he was maybe the most complete pitcher of the modern era on this list, in that he did it for a long time, and he didn't always do it with just throwing heat. He was and he kept adding pitches to his game. And I mean,
he did.
He was a model of consistency. I mean, he reminded me a little bit of Andy Pettitte in some ways, but just had better numbers and did it for far longer.
Much longer, absolutely.
Yeah, probably if the Braves in general had a little more postseason success, then probably some of the guys on those teams.
They were the Bills. They were the Bills of that time.
Right, but I mean,
they just didn't win the World Series.
Yeah, if they'd won, 1 or 2 more World Series, then some of those players would have been looked at a little bit more favorably.
Sure.
But it's certainly, I mean, by and large, it wasn't Greg Maddox's fault that they weren't winning.
No.
I can't remember too many times where he went out and put up a stinker, in the series.
No, on those Braves teams, I don't think it was really anybody's fault, because they had good offense, they had a good defense, they had a good manager. They just played against
the
better teams at that time.
Yeah, super teams.
Yeah. So that's true. They lost to the who else did they lose to? The Yankees twice, and did they lose to the Marlins? Was that the Marlins in 2003, right? They lost.
It wouldn't have been the Marlins.
In 2003.
Really? The Marlins were in the...
Marlins won the World Series in 97 and 2003.
Okay. I thought that was the Indians that the Marlins beat.
The Indians beat the Marlins beat the Indians in 97.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to remember who they beat in 2003. I can't think of it, but I thought the Braves were in. They were in earlier too. I mean, they lost to who did they lose to? They lost.
Jimmy, can you look up those
Jays.
numbers for us?
Jimmy,
our statistician will check that out.
Well, the Braves lost to the Blue Jays, right?
That's right. With what's his name?
Joe Carter.
Oh yeah.
And then they beat the Indians. Then they lost to the Yankees and twice. Yeah. So there you go. All right. Well, there you go, Mr. Number 8A, Mr. Greg Maddux. Brings us to number 7, Mr. Bob Gibson. Played from 1959 to 75, had 251 wins, pitched 3,884 innings. Career ERA of 2.91 under 3, and 3.10 strikeouts per walk. Bob Gibson was. This is the second list in a row that Bob Gibson is on.
Well, and Bob Gibson was so dominant for a stretch in his career that they changed the physical makeup of the baseball diamond because of his dominance. changing the height of the mound and the distance. I mean, there were Gibson rules, and he was pretty dominant. He was a badass.
Yeah, he was a badass in every way.
Yeah,
he was a badass. That's for sure.
Yeah. He in 1968 he posted a 1.12 ERA for the season. And struck out 17 people in Game 1 of the 1968 World Series.
And he wasn't pitching 4 2/3.
No.
Or even probably 6 on anything resembling a regular basis.
No.
He was the MVP in 64 and 67.
Yeah.
And if the Cardinals had won in 68, he would have been the MVP of that too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, they say 1968 was the year of the pitcher, but yeah, he was the best of the best. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. That's for sure. Yeah. Well, there you go. Number 7, Bob Gibson. That brings us to number 6. Number 6 is the big unit himself, Randy Johnson.
The best mullet on this list.
The best mullet on the list. And how tall was he? 7'8", right? I believe.
7'6". He was as tall as Manu Paul.
He's tall as Yao Ming.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Ridiculously tall. The big unit.
He was 6'8", right?
6'7".
6'7".
No.
7, yeah.
6'7",
no, he was
6'8".
He was like 6'10", I think. Randy Johnson.
Oh yeah, no, that's right.
I think he was like 6'9", 6'10". Yeah,
with cleats on.
6'9", 6'9".
Yeah.
6'10" with cleats, 6'9".
Anything over like 6'5" or 6'6".
It's all. It doesn't matter at that point. You're tall. Yeah. So in any event, played from 88 to 09. 303 career wins, pitched 4,135 innings. Career ERA of 3.29, 3.25 strikeouts per walk. He had made a cameo in the movie Little Big League too. There you go. So
I just wish he came to the Yankees a little sooner in his career.
Sooner than that, yeah.
Well, and he destroyed a seagull or a pigeon or whatever that was.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean, absolutely. That just that bird disintegrated. Randy Johnson was just. From what I have heard guys on the radio talk about is you didn't talk to him on game day. Like nobody did. You just left him alone.
He's the only guy that could be as nasty as Nolan Ryan.
But the rest of the time, he was a pretty nice guy.
Yeah.
But shied away from. Didn't want to be the center of attention, which is hard when you're 6'9" or 6'10" and you throw the baseball the way you do. But he was intimidating, no question about that.
Here's an interesting stat about Johnson. He between going from Seattle to Arizona, he had a brief stop in Houston, if you remember. Played in Houston. He had 11 starts. He went 10-1.
Yeah.
New team, 10-1 with an ERA of 1.28.
Well, he was dominant in Seattle. And he was obviously great for Arizona, but I think his legacy with Arizona was really more of that one World Series win where, not only did he win, I think he won 2 games as a starter, but he came in and won the 3rd game as a reliever, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And
everybody talks about the bloody suck.
He was dominant, and there was no pitch count.
No. Well, wasn't it? I think it was against Johnson in the All-Star game when Larry Walker turned his batting helmet around and batted from the right side because he didn't want to face Johnson as a lefty.
Yeah.
So I think he either got a different helmet or he just turned it around or something.
That's pretty.
And batted right hand.
Yeah, that 2001. I mean, I wanted a different outcome in that 2001 World Series, but he was just dominant. Mm-hmm. And that I think was the pinnacle of his career in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
it definitely was.
And look, the Arizona upon his retirement, he was actually given as a gift from the Diamondbacks Neil Peart's drum set.
Really?
Serious.
Really?
Not joking. Yeah. This is the truth. There's video of it. The actual kit that Neil Peart played on tour that year, because Randy Johnson's a big Rush fan and tries to play drums, and that's what they gave him as a gift when they retired his number.
Why did they have it?
Well, they bought it.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
They stole it. At that point in his life, Neil Peart was pretty slow. He didn't realize it. Where'd my drum set go? Randy Johnson stole it.
I imagine Neil probably had a couple others.
Yeah.
Just a few. But
I think his endorsement deal with Tama was covering that.
Covering them, yeah. So they bought it from him and gave it to Randy Johnson when he retired his number. That's great.
Yeah, I think they bought it at an auction and then they gave it to. I don't know. You can look it up. I don't know.
Check it out.
And to this day, Randy has almost got the drum part from YYZ down.
No, he definitely does it. Did you ever see Archer, the movie Archer, or the show Archer? There's a guy in Archer, and they goes, I have to tell you this. I got some really big news. And the main character, Archer, goes, you finally nailed the drum part to YYZ? And he goes, no, that's impossible. His van on that series has Caress of Steel painted on the side.
That's great. That's great. We know somebody that definitely tried, right, Pat? So,
yes.
But came close maybe a couple times, but
I know how to play the beginning.
The beginning of the drum solo or the beginning of the song?
The beginning of the song.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I've played the song. I mean, not for 20 years, but never the solo.
No, the solo. No. So anyway, well, that'll be on the Rush show. We'll do that one when we wear the kimonos. So anyway.
Top 10 Rush drum parts.
Top 10 Rush drum parts that none of us can play while wearing kimonos.
Top 10 rock and roll camel toes.
Oh, God. What a turn. All right, number 6 was Randy Johnson. All right, that brings us to number 5. Number 5 is Mr. Roger Clemens himself. There you go. So Roger Clemens played from 1984 to 2007. 354 career wins, almost 5,000, just shy of 5,000 innings pitched. Career ERA of 3.12. And just shy of 3 strikeouts per walk.
He pitched a long time.
He did pitch a long time.
Was he 44 when he retired?
Something like that. Somewhere in there. 44, 45, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But, he had the body of a 26-year-old at the time. In the trunk of his car. But
it helped. I mean, for the pitchers, it certainly helped them recuperate from injuries. That's what they took it for.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah. It wasn't like he was eating small children like Barry Bonds.
Well, actually, Bonds was grinding him up and then
Clemens didn't go. He put him
into a smoothie, right?
Clemens was always a big dude. He didn't go from 170 to 280 in 3 years.
Yeah. Clemens was in decline, and then he started taking steroids, and then he had a resurgence. He had a resurgence with Toronto and with the Yankees.
There you go.
I mean, it's.
I don't think he was in decline before he came to the Yankees. Come on.
Yeah. He wasn't in decline.
No,
but after the Yankees. Yeah. When he left the Yankees and went down to
Houston.
Just look at his career track. You see, he was falling off, and then suddenly he did something with the Yankees he couldn't do anywhere else.
Yep, this is true. He wasn't able to do it early on in his career in Boston.
Thank God.
Thanks to
Curse of the Bambino,
Mookie Wilson, and
Bill Buckner,
Ray Knight, and of course Bill Buckner. But
that's right. He was on that team.
He was on that team. Yes, he was. Yeah, but anyway, there he goes. Roger Clemens, number 5. Brings us to number 4, Grover Pete Alexander. Played from 1911 to 1930. 373 career wins, career ERA of 2.56, and pitched 2.31 strikeouts per walk. Grover, his friends called him Pete. Everybody else was.
How many complete games did he have? It's something staggering that I'll just. Yeah.
Oh.
It's over 200, isn't it?
Yeah, it's insane.
It's outrageous. By the way, what was his middle name? Jersey Johnny.
His middle name, Pete Alexander? Grover? Maybe it was Pete. I don't know.
Cleveland. Grover Cleveland Alexander. No, it actually was.
It really was.
Yeah.
You're not joking.
No, I'm not joking.
Grover Cleveland Alexander. Was that a coincidence, or did his parents like the former president?
I imagine that was.
I was going to say that's a very presidential ring.
They didn't have very good judgment, but yes, they were fans of Grover Cleveland.
There you go. Never tell
you. Or maybe
actually.
They were from Cleveland. I don't know, but
maybe they were from Cleveland. Maybe that was it.
He played for the Cleveland Steamers in the South Asian League.
Before they moved to the Americas.
That's right.
But then after a while there, he got a little rusty. So
that's it.
He couldn't.
They were the Budokan steamers.
Yeah, the Budokan steamers. Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, so he had a lot of. I'm trying to find the. I can't look for it. I can't find it. The amount of complete games he had, but 373 wins was good for tie for third on Major League Baseball's all-time wins list, and he just happens to be tied. And he was number 4 on our list. He just happens to be tied with number 3 on our list. Number 3 on our list is Mr. Christy Mathewson. Christy Mathewson.
Very similar numbers.
Very, very similar numbers. Played from 1900, 1900 to 1916. Played 17 seasons. 373 career wins. Same thing. 4,780.2 innings pitched. Pitched to a 2.13 ERA. And just shy, also, same as Roger Clemens, just shy of 3 strikeouts per walk. 2.96. So
okay. I don't want to interrupt you, but this is just ridiculous. Grover Pete Cleveland's complete games
in
his career.
Yep.
436. He had over 30 complete games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times.
He started 600 games and he finished 400 and change.
I had to check it 3 times because I was like, this has to be a typo. But no, he had 436 complete games.
436.
Yes.
That's insane.
And there were no 7-inning doubleheaders.
Which means he lost 80, at least 80 complete games or, something like that. So, yeah.
Or, at least.
Yeah.
Not more. I mean, that doesn't mean that he just won every complete game that he or all of his wins were complete games.
True, yeah.
He had 600 starts.
I'll put this back up.
208 losses.
208 losses.
And 696 games appeared in, 600 starts, 32 saves, by the way.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a 1.12 whip.
Yeah.
But which is incredible with 5,200 innings pitched.
He whipped it good.
His WAR was $1.19.
It's just it's insane.
119 wins above replacement.
Wins above replacement.
119.
That's just stupid.
You're right. That's just stupid.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Well, we're in a bit of a slump, but we're going to pitch Grover. We're going to pitch Pete for the next 4 games. So
he won the Triple Crown 3 times. He did.
He probably should be number 2.
Oh God!
Given all these
unbelievable.
Imagine right. There's 3 guys we put ahead of him, and they were pretty unanimous.
Yeah,
I think on our list.
I mean,
not
it's
quite
just
the same order, but
it was a different time. Still, I don't care if he was pitching to chimpanzees that were blindfolded. That's still really good numbers.
Yeah, those are great numbers for that. Even it's insane for anything else. Oh my God!
How did his arm not fall off?
I bet you did. They sewed it back on every day. Insane. There you go. Grover once again, number 4. Grover Cleveland Pete Alexander.
He was also a drunk epileptic.
Is this for real?
No, I think he was deaf. I think he was deaf in one ear from being in the war.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. That was the War of 1812.
That's great. 1812. That's a Spanish-American War. Yeah. Unbelievable. Anyway. All right. Well, again, that brings us to number 3.
He was a zombie. He was a zombie.
Christy Mathewson. I already gave his stats. Same thing, though. 373.
Yeah. He wasn't a jump epileptic, though.
He wasn't. But he did have a few ridiculous stats as well.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Just unbelievable.
He played from his 5-year peak was 2007 to 2011. Those were his best 5 years. He had 90 wins above replacement, too.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't 119, but it was 90.
He also had a staggering amount of complete games. It's just unbelievable.
It's crazy.
That's why I laugh when somebody stops at 6 innings down. They pat themselves on the back.
From 1907 to 1911, he won 139 games. It's an average of almost 28 games a year each year with a .96 whip and a 1.69 ERA. Insane numbers. And this is happening over 100 years ago, folks. Over 100, 110 to 114.
He had 435 complete games.
435
in 17 years.
435 complete games, and what did Grover Cleveland have?
436. I thought it was 436. Right?
436 and 435. Wow, these two pitchers are like identical.
I know, it's really crazy.
It's scary, yeah. But well, there you go. Number 3, Christy Mathewson. That brings us
436 to 435. Now Matheson did it in 3 less years, but yeah, still crazy.
This is true.
I mean, their numbers are just almost identical. It's crazy.
That is nuts. So, all right. Well, that brings us to number 2. Number 2 is another man that made 2 lists in a row. Walter Johnson. Walter Johnson played from 1907 to 1927. He won 100. I'm sorry, he won 100. He won 417 games. Almost 6,000 innings pitched. 5,914. Pitched to a career 2.17 ERA.
Just crazy, right?
2.58 strikeouts per walk.
Okay. Yeah. Well, this is why he was number 2 and not number 3. Is that he had 531 complete games.
531 complete games, folks. Are you catching Are you getting the drift here? There weren't very many relief pitchers 100 years ago.
38 complete games in 1910.
38 complete games.
He pitched in 45 games, started 42, and completed 38 of the 42 that he started.
Pitchers' arms would fall off today.
And he had 8 shutouts. He had 11 shutouts one year. Jeez.
11 shutouts one year.
Now you could say, some of these records might be a little bit off, but not that much off. Not like 100 complete games off. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So maybe it wasn't quite 431.
No,
I think they've been meticulously researched.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
He was still pitching complete games at 36.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
If the numbers were off a little bit, it wasn't that much.
He played for 21 years, which is back then. The average lifespan was like 34.
Well, he started when he was 13.
That's right. He pitched for 5 years. He pitched with gangrene.
The Jets?
Walter Johnson.
He pitched for the Jets?
That's right. He had syphilis from 1910.
Oh, shut up.
I don't know.
I was from palling around with Babe Ruth.
That's right.
Who surprisingly, well, maybe not surprisingly, but
you would think Babe Ruth would be on this list.
Babe Ruth might have made this list.
Yeah, it was close. Yeah. But just another thing here, he pitched in 5 starts, 6 games altogether between 1924 and 1925, both World Series. In all 5 of his starts, he went the distance, complete games, including a 12-inning loss in his first postseason appearance. That guy on second base to start the 10th inning really did him in. In all, he pitched 50 innings with a 2.52 ERA and was on the mound when the Senators won the 24 World Series. So
crazy.
Not bad, Walter Johnson.
There you go. Well, that's it. Number 2, Walter Johnson. And I wonder who our number 1 pitcher of all time in Major League Baseball history is. It would be none other than Mr. Cy Young. There he goes. Pitched from 1890 to 1911. Had 511 career wins, 7,354.2 innings pitched, a career ERA of 2.63, 2.3 strikeouts per walk, and just talking about complete games, 436 and 435 for for Alexander and
531.
531 for Walter Johnson. Cy Young had
749.
749 complete games the man pitched.
He only had 511 wins.
That's out of 826 games.
He had 48 complete games in 1892.
Unbelievable.
You want to guess what his WAR was?
What was it?
The Civil?
163.
163 wins above replacement. Yep.
Yeah. He pitched so long he was part of the Civil War and World War I.
And if I remember correctly from some of my baseball readings from many years ago, which I probably don't, but back in the latter part of the 19th century, that is to say the late 1800s when he was pitching, a lot of the batters, they told the pitcher where they wanted the ball.
Yeah.
In the early days of the game, they were like, I like it down low. And the pitcher would kind of throw it down there. So he was, maybe for at least the early part of his career, he was throwing pitches based upon where the batter wanted
it to pitch.
That's still dominating.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Just insane. It's not a wonder why the award is named after this man. Denton True Young is his name. First name Denton, middle name True, True, Young. Cy was his nickname. And there you go.
By the way, Babe Ruth had 107 complete games in 10 years that he pitched and had a 2.28 ERA, but he only won 94 games as a starting pitcher. So it's because he was also playing right field.
Right, yeah. He was the days he wasn't pitching, he was playing right field.
Well, there was a chunk of time between 1915 and 1919 or 1918 really where he had 32, 44, 41 and 20 games where he pitched. And then after that he only pitched once or twice a year.
After 1918, he was on the Yankees. He left the Red Sox. 1918 was his last year on the Red Sox.
And he didn't pitch very much with the Yankees.
He didn't pitch very much at all with the Yankees.
Yeah, although he was,
Yeah, Cy Young had 4 seasons of 30-plus wins.
He pitched 2 games in 1930, and one of them was a complete game.
Unbelievable.
Coming off a bender.
And he was 62 at the time, too.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Everybody back then was 62.
Unbelievable. Oh, man. Well, there you go. That is it's just an amazing list and very difficult to do because there are just so many good arms. I'm going to mention really quick, I'm going to bring this up over here, a couple of names that were on lists that we did that didn't get mentioned. Just give them a nod, if you will, honorable mention. Won't go into any stats. Bob Feller, Warren Spahn,
great.
Steve Carlton, of course, and Pedro Martinez just missed the.
Pedro Martinez was great. I just could not bring myself to put him in my top 10.
He was there, but
I felt the same way about Clemens.
There you go, and Greg Maddux apparently. So, I believe.
Yeah.
Ish.
Nah. I don't know.
Had him lower.
Yeah. Just a little bit lower.
A little bit lower. There you go. Well, anyway, number 1, of course, was Mr. Denton True Cy Young. There you go. Born in Gilmore, Ohio. There it is.
And buried in Peoria, I think.
He was one of the original Gilmore Girls.
No, Pioli. Excuse me, Pioli.
Pioli's, yeah. Pioli. In Ohio, yeah. Newcomers Town or whatever. Yeah. So, he was one of the original Gilmore Girls. Yes, you're absolutely right. And there you go. All right. Well, that, of course, as always, will bring us to none other than this week's edition of Old Balls. Old Balls. Harry, why don't you tell us who this week's Old Balls is?
This week's recipient of the high honor of Old Balls is none other than Edwin Charles Whitey Ford. I would say it's probably hard to argue the best pitcher the Yankees ever had. He was at amateur free agent, signed in 1947 and did not play for another 2 years because he served in the Korean War before he actually started pitching for the Yankees in 1953. He was 236 and 106 with a 2.75 ERA. He was a 10 times All-Star. He was a 6-time World Series champion. He won the Cy Young Award in 1961, won the World Series MVP that year. He was a 3-time American League wins leader, a 2-time Major League Baseball ERA leader, and is obviously in the Hall of Fame. And he's one of the honored in Monument Park at Yankee Stadium. I think, being a Yankees fan, I think what's incredible about Whitey Ford is that, we talked about Sandy Koufax, who probably had, maybe even a little less of amount of games that he pitched. But Ford was just great in the postseason. He obviously had more opportunities, but he had 10 World Series victories, more than any other pitcher. He also led all starters in World Series losses with 8 and starts. He started 22 World Series games. And he broke Babe Ruth's World Series records of 29 and 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings in 1961, postseason innings, World Series innings. And so, he was just one of those guys that, as a starting pitcher, was just dominant on a team of some of the best players in baseball. He was the best pitcher on that team by far, and I think one of the best. And for me, he was close to making it to my top 10 list. I just felt like he didn't quite have the numbers. When guys have over 100 more wins and have pitched a lot longer, it just seems like. But 10 World Series wins, 6 World Series rings. Mm-hmm. That's pretty impressive.
I'm sure there's, if when we do these lists, and I always look at probably half a dozen other lists that are online and sort of look at and you get a lot of stats that way. I'm sure there's a formula that somebody uses where those things carry a little more weight, and Whitey Ford is on somebody's top 10. But we all have our different criteria. But
maybe
no question he was the best.
You could argue he's. I probably the best postseason pitcher of all time. Koufax didn't quite have the numbers that he did. I don't think there's anybody else, even Clemens or Randy Johnson, who had the numbers that he did. There's some guys who have pitched in more postseason games, especially with the expanded format, like Andy Pettitte and even Greg Maddux and people like that. But to be that dominant and to have your ERA actually go down, to have an ERA of 2.71 in the postseason is pretty incredible.
He
didn't have 2 rounds of early season playoff games to beef those numbers up. Yeah, right. He was winning a pennant and then going into the World Series.
Yeah, you were going against.
Yeah, you were going against the best of the best.
The best in your league, and then the best in the other league.
Yep. There you go. So there you go, Mr. Whitey Ford.
This week,
the chairman of the board.
This week's Old Balls. All right. Well, there you go. That will wrap up baseball for today. With our lists and everything else. All right. So why don't we get back to your comment before? Let's do some NFL talk. What do we think about the Sam Darnold trade? Why don't you spout off first there, RadioPete, since you're the chosen Jet fan here.
Well, I don't know if you saw the little video. I think it was on Twitter and probably on Facebook. Sam Darnold looks like he's walking into a room. They're having a party. They're like cheering, and the headline says they threw Sam Darnold a party for escaping from New York.
There you go.
Or escaping from the Jets, which is probably the best way to put it. Look, I think this is a great move for him. It answers the question about what's going to happen. Obviously, we don't have to talk about it anymore. I assume he's going to be the starting pitcher for the Panthers. They have the number 8 pick, but I don't think there's going to be one of those top quarterbacks left by number 8. Yeah. They need to, obviously, as every other team does, or almost every other team, needs to shore up their offensive line. But, the Panthers were 5-11, but they were a pretty damn good 5-11 last season.
They were better than the record last year.
They had 8 games that were decided by 8 points. Some were wins and some were losses. And let me just run down a couple of these here. They lost to the Raiders by 4. They lost to the Bears by 7. They lost to the Saints by 3. They lost to the Falcons by 8. They lost to the Chiefs 31-33. They lost to the Vikings 28-27. So, they lost to the Packers 16-24. So, and that was Christian McCaffrey, who was the best back in the league the prior season, only played 3 games.
Yeah, he was.
And he, by all accounts, is coming back healthy. Sure. They've got some good weapons.
I don't think it's a sure shot he starts. In your mind, do you think he's that much better of a quarterback than Teddy Bridgewater? Or do you think Bridgewater will be gone?
I think Bridgewater will be gone. I think they brought Sam there to be the starter. Bridgewater is a nice quarterback, but he doesn't throw downfield very well. He doesn't air it out.
I'll tell you this. There's a lot of chatter here in Denver about Bridgewater. I think if the Broncos can't trade up to get into that 4th spot that Atlanta's shopping,
right?
I think you might see Bridgewater here in Denver.
I like Teddy Bridgewater. I was happy when he was with the Jets. Although
there was talk of Darnold coming here. I mean, the Broncos seem to be fairly hot on Sam Darnold.
I think he's in a great situation right now.
I do too. I think it's a win-win.
McCaffrey coming back. He's getting reunited with Robbie Anderson.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And he's got I forget who some of the coaching personnel are very quarterback friendly.
Yeah, sure.
I can't remember their names right now. So yeah, I mean, look, he's going to show whether or not he is, whether he was what he was
built to be,
and simply the Jets were so inept at everything as they always are. Or maybe I
don't think that's a really long walk, though. Do you?
I mean, no. But we're gonna, I think we're gonna find out over the next season or two whether or not he has the goods to be a quality quarterback. Look,
let me ask you this question: then, do the Jets take Zach Wilson? And if you were the GM of the Jets, that would be an upgrade, by the way. Would you be taking Wilson or Fields?
I think they like Zach Wilson. I think Robert Saleh likes Zach Wilson. And I think Joe Judge is smart enough to say, I'm going to give my brand new coach the guy that he wants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have to agree with that. And it's another reason why Darnold is gone, too. Sure, it would have been easy to keep him, let him start, not have Zach Wilson, if that's indeed who they pick, thrown to the Wolves from day one.
Which he will be.
Which he will be now, obviously.
He will be.
And then have Darnold start and maybe bring up his his trade capital a little bit, maybe, and then trade him during the season or next season or whatever. But at that point, then you lost a year of free money or cheaper money with Zach Wilson, and you also might potentially have a quarterback controversy. What happens if Darnold all of a sudden is lighting it up and the Jets go 12-4?
Well, that's just
excuse me, 12-5 or 13-4.
Well, the Jets still have draft picks. And
they have a huge draft capital.
I think if they had
a lot of draft capital, and I think they need to load up on linemen.
Yeah, if they hadn't gotten the 2nd round pick as part of the deal, I don't think they would have made it. But
that's essentially the deal.
Yeah. But they would have had a quarterback controversy right from the get-go, and that's part of the coach's job is to deal with that. But it also makes it easier not to deal with it. So now, look, obviously we know they're number 2. They have a lot of other picks. They should be able to get some help on the offensive line, which they need. Mm-hmm. But they've got some other tools.
Yeah, they do.
And look,
who do you think goes third in the draft?
Who's picking?
The 49ers, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
that's true. They got the pick from Miami.
There's a lot of talk about what's his name from Alabama.
Yeah.
Yeah, who's the new name? Not Mac Jones, the other.
Mac Jones. Then there's also Trey Lance.
Trey Lance, yes.
And then Justin Fields.
But that's, that's the guys that are, doing these mock drafts. They're talking. They got to have something new to say every day.
Well, they change their they do a mock draft every day, and it's completely different.
Yeah, it's completely different because whose stock is rising and falling, who's the rumors. But look, I'm happy for Sam Darnold.
We're going to do our mock draft next week or the week after. We're going to do our mock draft,
and we'll see what happens to him. Look, one thing I was thinking about today is he was considered by virtually everybody, or certainly almost everybody, to be the most NFL-ready quarterback coming out of the draft 3 years ago. That doesn't mean they all thought he was going to be a great quarterback.
They also thought that.
And I think in those
Josh
3
Rosen
years,
was a
what
good
NFL ready means has changed.
Yeah. And look, he had interception problems when he was in college. So, I wish him the best. I hope he becomes good. And look, if you look at Carolina, they're in the South, I believe it is.
Yeah.
They're in the NFC South. Yeah.
So, looking at the NFC South, I mean, you've got the Saints without Drew Brees, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who else is in that division?
Atlanta.
You've got Atlanta.
And the Bucs.
Who knows what they're going to be?
Well, in Atlanta, does Atlanta draft a quarterback and let Matt Ryan have, maybe in the next 2 years and groom a Justin Fields? I think Atlanta would be smart to hold on to that pick and draft a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Ryan's 36 years old.
They would definitely be smart to hold on to that pick.
There's a lot of talk about them shopping that.
Yep.
So.
And of course the Bucs are the Bucs. But my point is that Carolina has got an opportunity here to sort of become a relevant team, at least within their division, even if it's number 2.
We'll see.
Right.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it'll be interesting. A lot of guys in that position don't always get a second chance. A lot of times those big draft names go bust, and
they end up as second stringers, right?
Or they disappear like a Ryan Leaf or
right.
Or they they become the Jeff Georges of the world, where they're serviceable, but not necessarily world beaters. But Darnold, he can't get any worse.
Right. He's got good weapons, right? He's got McCaffrey coming back. He's got
more weapons, that's for sure.
Carolina had 3 receivers with over 1,000 yards from scrimmage last year.
The biggest thing for Darnold is that on paper, if McCaffrey's healthy, they have a running game, and that takes the pressure off of him. He had a 97-year-old running back starting behind him last year.
Well,
so,
right.
They're going to be able to have a much more dynamic running back. He's going to have a weapon to throw to out of the backfield to dump down to. And he's got some decent tight ends. And I think that's really where he fits. I see him being able in an offensive scheme that's more of a West Coast, quick release, short pass offense. I think he can do well. Yeah. I just don't see him being the guy who's going to drop back and make, those big time, thread the needle passes.
Well, I kind of agree with you, but he was making big plays with Robbie Anderson.
True.
Almost every pass to Robbie Anderson was a big play.
Yeah.
And if you do have a less than stellar offensive line, it is nice to have the tight end to dump off to, which we didn't have much of an option with the Jets. I mean, look, just think about how important it's going to be for Saquon Barkley coming back to the Giants. How important it is going to be for the Giants.
Sure.
Well, he got Christian McCaffrey coming back to Carolina. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he does well. I wish him well.
Same thing, basically.
He's a good kid, and I like him. I think he didn't get a fair shake in New York, and maybe he'll be better than everybody thinks. Maybe not. I don't know. We're going to find out, though.
Is there any team that has a worse history of drafting quarterbacks than the Jets?
There's not too many teams that have a worse history of
Cleveland
drafting.
Yeah, Cleveland probably. But the Jets should probably stay away from drafting quarterbacks from USC.
I mean, Richard Todd was good.
Well, here's the thing about the Jets, and I to this day I cannot decide whether they're just bad at picking, or whether they're worse at picking, or whether they're worse at developing.
Yes,
because they seem right. That's the answer. They seem absolutely inept.
They're horrible at both.
But maybe they're pretty good at picking, but they just don't develop guys, or maybe they're not that good at picking, and they think guys are better than they're going to be, and then they don't develop them well. Either way, they end up sucking. I think it was Greenberg said, what did he say today? Have a failure with all of your first round draft picks for the past 10 years. That is the quick road to sucking.
I mean, I think Cleveland was in the same camp until Baker Mayfield. I mean, Cleveland was sort of in the same boat for a long time.
Just couldn't get it right. Yeah.
Well, let's look at it. Jets first round draft picks from 2012 to 2018. I was
going back 20 years.
Just going back just in these 8 years or whatever. 2018, Sam Darnold, traded. 2017, Jamal Adams, traded. 2016, Darren Lee, traded. 2015, Leonard Williams, traded. 2014, Calvin Pryor, traded. 2013, Sheldon Richardson, traded. 2013, also D. Milner, cut. And 2012, Quentin Couples, cut.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, they did have some pretty good history a long time ago.
Sure.
I mean, Keyshawn Johnson, John Riggins was a first-round pick for the Jets.
Well, how about this? This is how about 2000? Sean Ellis, John Abraham, Chad Pennington, Anthony Becht.
Yeah.
All first-rounders, 12, 13, 18, and 27.
Well, I mean, Mekhi Becton. I think the jury's still out on him. I think that was a good pick.
Oh, look, it got Becton and Mims.
Yeah,
from last year. Let's look at some of the guys.
Williams is still playing.
Quinnen Williams, right? You got Darnold.
Jamal. I thought Jamal Adams was a good player. He just wanted out of New York.
He just wanted,
I mean,
don't forget about 2018 sixth-round pick Folorunso Fatukasi.
Yeah,
don't forget about him.
Fatukasi.
How about DeBrickshaw Ferguson?
DeBrickashaw Ferguson and Nick Mangold were both in that same draft.
That's right. They were actually the same year, right?
Same year.
Like, look at 2016.
I mean,
Deron Lee.
They drafted Revis.
Deron Lee, Hackenberg in the second round, Jordan Jenkins.
It's just the quarterback. So you got Darnold, then of course you got Mark Sanchez, then
Bryce
you have
Petty, 2015 fourth rounder,
Chad
Geno
Pennington.
Smith.
Chad Pennington,
Smith is terrible.
Chad Pennington. I mean, wasn't Richard Todd way back in the day? Wasn't he their first pick? I think he was.
Yeah. Yes, he was.
Richard Todd was a 1976 first-round pick. Ken O'Brien, 1983 first-round pick.
O'Brien was a good quarterback.
O'Brien wasn't,
I liked Ken O'Brien.
Mark Sanchez, 2009.
Well, O'Brien was way better than Mark Sanchez.
No, yeah, I'm just saying lousy picks. Fifth pick of the draft.
Yeah.
And with that 1983 pick of Ken O'Brien, they passed on another quarterback, though, didn't they? That year?
Yes, they did.
Why is everyone going to bring that up?
He did okay.
See, that would be where other normal people or people who root for normal teams would go, they made one mistake, but it's not. Yeah. It's just a bevy. But again,
kind of like when Portland picked what's his name over Michael Jordan,
right?
Yeah, we notice it more with quarterbacks, but they're just their failure to develop players of all types.
I think it's more player development than it is picks. It's definitely picks, but I think it's more on the player development side, incrementally more, but more.
Browning Nagel, Jesus Christ!
Browning Nagel, there you go.
What were they thinking?
Browning Nagel, where was that?
All right, All right, we're going to go back to just to 1999. But so here's the Cleveland Browns picked Tim Couch. I'm just going quarterbacks now. Brady Quinn, Brandon Weeden, and Johnny Manziel before they finally did okay with Baker Mayfield. So I still say that's way worse than Mark Sanchez and Sam Bradford.
Yeah, you're right.
Sam Darnold.
Sam Bradford.
Now you got me saying
two of you. I swear.
Just say Sam. Well, look, we don't have to say it very much because he's with another team.
You wanted to say it now. Yeah, it's all about now. It's Zach. So
yeah, now it's all about Zach.
Now it's all about Zach.
He's
not even on the team yet.
I still think. I know there's some downside to him, but I still think Justin Fields is.
Well,
I just think he's going to be a better quarterback. But we'll see.
He kind of.
Zach Wilson's really young.
Yeah.
Just in his experience level.
You watch that. And
he didn't play high quality opponents.
Right. True.
No, but in his defense and that was one of my arguments against him. But in his defense, he also wasn't throwing to
that's true.
All-star receivers either.
Yeah, like Alabama.
I mean? Yeah, no, I don't know how many BYU receivers.
He looks real. They all look really good in these pro days. They really do. He is pretty athletic. You
watch Fields in that game against Clemson though, and you go, boy, maybe he's just got it. You know, that toughness, that will.
Sure, he was hurt. He was hurt when they played.
Is he the guy that's on the Steelers now that came from, you know, what's his name? Not the Steelers, the Eagles. Who's the Eagles who won the championship game and then
Foles?
Yeah. He kind of
Foles,
not Foles. The guy who's starting.
Talking about Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts. I mean, doesn't Justin Fields kind of remind you of a Jalen Hurts in some ways?
A little bit.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I
bigger than Jalen Hurts.
Well, yeah. I also don't think Zach Wilson's 6'3". I do not think he's.
You got to assume they got to assume almost no one is the actual size that they have listed.
Yeah,
the NBA does that too. Everybody gets bumped up by an inch or so.
Or two, yeah.
I look
round
Jets,
up to the next one and add one.
I don't think the Jets would necessarily be going wrong with either one of those picks, and I don't think there'll be an outrage amongst the punditry, no matter who they pick. But it seems like, at least from the reports, that Saleh is high on Wilson.
Yeah.
And
all right, here's the next question: how did the Giants screw up their pick? Who did?
What do they have? 11.
They have picked 11. Yeah. That's a good question. I think they're going to wind up taking. It depends.
I hope they get a receiver.
Why would you hope they get a receiver? They just spent a ton of money on Kenny Golladay.
Yeah. Who are they going to get then? Do you think? Do you think what's his name?
I think they're going to go edge rusher. I think they're going to get Rousseau.
Yeah.
That would be my guess.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
What if not that I don't know if he'll be there at 11 or not, but if Pitts is there, you want what though? Potentially generational tight end.
Yeah, but
he won't be either.
He's not going to be there. But you know what?
I don't think he will. But
I think he's going to be there. Plus, you just and granted, Evan Ingram and Kyle Rudolph together don't equal Pitts, but You did bring Kyle Rudolph in, and maybe he has something left in the tank, and you focus on. I think that they can get a lockdown edge rusher in the defense. I think that's the way you got to go.
I think Atlanta might take Pitts as high as 4th if they don't take a quarterback, which they might not. Yeah,
it's possible.
Yeah, if they're willing to give it a shot with,
I think you got
Matty Ice for a couple more years, then yeah, you're right. They could.
I mean, look. If a couple things turn the right way, the Broncos might be able to get Justin Fields with the 9th pick, which would be pretty interesting.
Well, if they all wind up going with the other quarterbacks first, and Fields falls to the 5th quarterback, and Pitts and a couple of the receivers and everything else go before that, then why not?
Don't you think the Giants would take Micah Parsons though over? Or if let's say somebody like a Devonta Smith is still available with the 11th pick, I mean, I don't know.
I don't think they're gonna because of the money they just gave Kenny Golladay.
Yeah, I get you.
If they hadn't signed Kenny Golladay, absolutely. If Devonta Smith was still there, then they're taking the wide receiver. But
and you don't think they take Micah Parsons?
They might. I think they're gonna go Rousseau. I just really believe that's gonna happen.
Over Kwity Paye.
Pay? Yep.
No.
So, but hey, who knows? I mean, they really need that lights out. They need that Chase Young pick back.
Mm-hmm.
They really do. But what remains to be seen. What's his name on the Giants signed? What do they call it? Fede Odenigbo from the Vikings.
Let's say that 5 times. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Fede Odenigbo. I'm not doing it 5 times though. Now he was quoted as saying they've got something special brewing.
Who said that?
The guy they signed.
Oh well, sure. What's he going to say? I hate
they suck. I'm going there anyway.
I hate their quarterback, but I need money.
Exactly. He's what you call it? He was an under the radar signing, outside linebacker. So they signed him to a 1-year, $2.5 million deal. But he was quoted as saying they got something special brewing. He says, I don't see why I wouldn't want to go here. I think something's brewing, something special in New York, and I want to be part of that transformation. That's what he said. Odenigbo from the.
What that translates to is nobody else was willing to give me as much money as the Giants.
Right. I couldn't get $2.5 million from anybody else, so I'm going to be a team player. So,
and Cincinnati didn't seem all that exciting.
Right. Yeah, it's a little lighter, more team in Cincy. But hey, you know what? We'll see. Daniel Jones actually organized an off-season workout in Arizona. Was reported. So I guess he's flying everybody out there and working out with them.
I don't know.
Oh, good. That's what the team leader does, right?
Why not? There you go. So, but hey, you know what? We'll see what happens. I think we are going to do our mock drafts.
All right.
Next week we can
I think the Giants are going to wind up with Jalen Waddle.
You're going Waddle? Well, put it in your mock draft. We'll do our.
Look. The Giants have always been good at picking receivers in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
You want young receivers that you don't have to pay big bucks for, but they broke that rule with Callaway. Can you have it? I mean, look, I think you have to.
Yeah, that doesn't mean they're not going to take.
No, you can never have enough. You got to load up with guys to get.
That doesn't mean they're not going to take Rousseau and then take a receiver in the second round. So
yeah,
or take Waddle and an edge rusher in the second round. They signed what's his name too as a defensive lineman edge rusher.
Mm-hmm.
I think I said a couple weeks ago they've done a pretty good job in free agency of filling their needs, with at least quality players. So they've opened themselves up to the possibility of whoever's the best guy on the board, regardless of position, they can take him.
Right.
And, if that happens to be Waddle, then
Odenigbo we were just talking about. He's an outside linebacker, so there's that. I mean, hey, you know what? I think they've had one of their better free agent offseason, group signings in a long time.
Yeah.
With some of the moves they made. So, we'll see what happens with them.
That means Gettleman sticking around.
That's what it means at the moment. Yeah, there's not a whole hell of a lot other than that going on. I haven't heard any new news on the.
I did want to ask one question of you guys.
Sure. What?
About Deshaun Watson.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. I haven't heard anything.
Oh, okay. Well, now there's two women who've come forward and been identified. One is, I guess, the first one that filed the civil suit, and
he's finally losing all his endorsement deals.
He's losing his endorsement deals, but no criminal charges. Mm-hmm. So the question I wanted to pose to you guys is, it seems to me the longer this goes on without criminal charges, and we'll have to see what the NFL investigation.
It takes a while for a criminal charge to be brought on.
It does, but and it's going to take a while for the NFL investigation. Who knows? That could take a better part of a year. But it seems to me the longer this goes on without a criminal charge being brought, the better it is for Deshaun Watson.
Of course.
In that, it's. I mean, two women came out and said, "Hey, it's me. This is my name. This is my face," and it was a story for a day, and then it went away. When really just a couple of weeks ago,
went 22.
No, I'm not. 22. I'm not passing judgment on what's right or wrong or whether it's real or not. I'm just saying.
I think it's horrible, and I think that I think his career. I think his career might be over. I will say this: if he wants to come to the Giants, the door is open. That's just a joke.
My point is that the longer this sort of becomes a simmering story, the less it's in the forefront of our minds. I think it just ends up. In other words, there are people who are outraged and who are always going to be outraged about it no matter what. And there are people who were more outraged in the moment who eventually are just, it kind of dies down and they go, yeah, that's still going on.
I don't think it's dying down. I just think a lot of the media is handling it with kid gloves. And
is that because they don't want to be wrong?
And it's also making it into mainstream news stories now, not just SportsCenter. I just think it is what it is. Yeah. I think if it was, let's just say he's getting slightly different treatment than Louis C.K. got for what I think, is far less amount of, people coming forward and complaining. Right. I just think that it's being covered, but it's not being hammered. People aren't obsessing about it in the media, which is okay. I get that. But I feel as if he's getting a little bit of the benefit of the doubt from the media as a whole compared to some other people who have been in similar situations.
Right.
But we've also seen a number of situations where, particularly I think in the NFL, where players did some pretty horrible shit.
Exactly.
And they came back.
Yeah, Michael Vick, and some of the other. Some of them didn't come back,
but there's some one incident guys like who's the Joe Mixon.
Yeah,
right? Didn't he punch out a woman in a McDonald's?
No, and what's his name? The guy in Kansas City, the receiver.
I
don't know. I hate talking about this stuff because let the authorities do what they need to do, and let's hope that there's a thorough investigation and that justice is served for all sides involved. For all
sides, whatever is the actual truth. And let it come out, and let justice be served. Absolutely, agree.
I'm just saying that maybe that justice is going to have to be served by the league if it doesn't come from the league.
I think that these things take some time, and especially when it's a multiple, basically people coming across, and it's a tough thing to prove, and so I think that they're investigating. I think that in due time, justice will move in the direction that it needs to move. Due diligence will be done, and if criminal charges are deemed appropriate, they'll be filed, and the investigation will move forward in that matter. Whether or not the NFL might take action too, but I think the NFL in this position and in this situation probably has to wait for any criminal investigations to be done before they can even start delve into their own.
Well, no, they're investigating it now, right?
Yeah, but I mean
they're not going to rule. They're not going to rule on it.
What does that mean? I mean,
well,
do they have more access to information than the authorities in Houston, or
they're going to want to talk to everybody?
They're going to want to dope out. They're following. I think they're following behind this, and I think we might not know until. For another 3 or 4 months. We don't know.
It could be longer than that.
Yeah. Could be.
I mean, the more, 20 people that have got to. And the other thing that and again, I'm not trying to downplay this, but if it's criminal charges, what are they? What do those criminal charges end up being?
Sexual, assault.
Assault? I mean.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's other
levels.
There's other legal descriptions of what it would be, but yeah.
But if you're looking at a sexual predator,
I mean, it could be something.
Again, this is not a defense, but he didn't rape anybody. At least
it could be indecent exposure on the low end, and it could be
like, is it a level 1 kind of sex offender thing where
I don't know.
He's got to showing himself? Did he grab
Texas? I don't know.
Did he grab anybody's hand? And I don't.
Who knows?
I don't know. In other words, I don't. He's not. They're not investigating whether he raped and or killed a bunch of women or something like that.
No.
Again, not a defense.
Not yet.
No, not yet. And I'm not defending it. I'm just saying I don't know how severe those criminal charges will be, and that may have something to do with whether the NFL lets him ever play again or not.
Right.
I think we'll just have to wait for Johnny Cochran.
Super freaking talented. So.
Well, I think that's part of the issue.
You may very well be too.
I do think, I'm kind of beating around the bush. I think he's getting fucking preferential treatment.
But that's nothing new.
No, it's nothing new.
This might be kind of to an unprecedented level, but
slightly.
And
although I would look,
let them do what they need to do, and hopefully the authorities will do a thorough enough investigation that either criminal charges will be filed and the investigation will move on, or they won't be. And then the NFL can move forward in whatever manner they want to. But what's probably going to happen is that after this initial round of judgment is passed, you'll probably have additional suits and refilings and reclaims, and this thing's going to get dragged on. Yeah. And so and
there may be a point if it doesn't go criminal where, as bad as it's going to look, he may just settle. It might be in his best interest to end it and settle.
Who knows? And then if he decides to settle with 22 or 20 women, how many more then going to come out of the woodwork?
No, that's
right.
Yeah.
I mean, how many massages can you get? How many massage therapists are there?
Well, that's really the underlying thing is why do you need massages from different people all the time?
No, obviously
because he was trying to get a handy from
part of your question.
Didn't go back to the same person twice. But is this worse than what? Let's say the allegations are true with these 22 women. Is this worse than what Michael Vick did?
I don't think it's it's not for me to judge whether one's worse or not.
It's apples and oranges.
I think it's apples and oranges. I think they're both pretty horrible. Yeah. And I have gone, before when asked about this, is saying I don't think Michael Vick should have. People say Michael Vick paid his dues. Did he? Did he? He's an analyst now. And not a very good one.
He did go to jail, but
no. Yeah, I know, but.
Was that enough?
The accounts are that he was dogfighting and killing the losers.
Oh, I know exactly what it was. Trust me.
I mean,
yeah, I think they're both pretty horrible because unnecessary. Whether one way or another, whether or not it's legally brought to a claim. Obviously they're both. One was convicted of wrongdoing and went through the legal process. We don't know yet with Deshaun Watson, and I think that's the reality of it. I mean, I think the NFL is always confused in these issues. It's like, okay, we didn't have to do any internal discipline because there was legal action. Michael Vick paid his time, and now he's back with open arms.
Right.
Anyway. Would that be the same? If he was a third string quarterback who never played, would that be the same? I don't know. I don't think so.
On the flip side of that, look at Ray Lewis.
Yeah.
Right. That woman, they're married now. That woman that he punched out in the elevator, that's his wife now.
Ray Rice.
Ray Rice. Sorry. Yeah, not Ray Lewis.
Ray Lewis
killed a guy.
Ray Lewis killed somebody, but he made his friends cover it up. So
right.
He's also an analyst. We have a great analyst team in the NFL.
Yeah. Ray Rice knocked out his girlfriend / fiance. They're married now.
But he was also really kind of done from the league after that.
Yeah. Right, that's what I mean. He didn't press charges.
He had a suspension.
No, he didn't go to jail. He wasn't prosecuted. And the NFL just said, we're done with you.
The NFL didn't say they were done with him. Nobody wanted to sign him.
Initially,
they suspended him for 1 year.
Right, and then it was appealed, and they cut it back to a handful of games.
And then nobody wanted to sign him.
Then the video came out, and the NFL went back and sort of gave him double jeopardy, and then nobody wanted him. So that was a case where there was nothing criminal and circumstances, and it was largely the NFL's kind of taking that the approach that they did. And
Zeke falls into that too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, but it's a mess, and something will eventually, and it's probably going to be longer than shorter, but something will eventually come out in the woodwork. So
I just think the longer it goes on, it's more likely that we will see Deshaun Watson playing football in the NFL again.
We shall see.
By the way, this is the second game now today that has gone into extra innings, and the second game this season that the Yankees are in extra innings. And I think Major League Baseball has a problem on there because I think everybody's going to score now, and you're just going to have it's going to be like college football overtime, where a 2-2 pitchers duel turns into a 14-12, 14 inning slugfest.
Right. It's that they have to get that.
Yeah, because all you need
is absolutely stupid.
All you need is a single.
You need a long single and a score run.
A bunt, if they knew how to bunt, if the people still knew how to bunt, and then you could hit a sack fly.
Well, what is
you bunt the run over to third and hit a sack fly, you win the game. Done.
Who goes on second?
The last person to get out in the last inning, previous inning.
Okay, so somebody who's already in the game.
Mm-hmm. But then you can pinch run and replace that person.
But then
on second base.
But that person has to stay in the game.
Yes.
So in other words, there's not a designated runner who comes off the bench.
Unless you make a replacement. You can make a replacement.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway. All right. Well,
I guess that's it for football.
That should be it for football. All right. Let's talk a quick little bit about basketball. I want to ask you both your opinion, more so Harry than Pete, but I want Pete's opinion too. Did you see Jeff Van Gundy?
No.
What he said about Oakley?
No, what did he say?
Well, the Knicks want to retire Oakley's number.
Mm-hmm.
And Oakley said, yeah, bite me. No, I don't want my number retired. Oakley said he says, hang the number outside next to the flag so everybody can come and look at it outside, that they don't have to pay to get inside to look at it. Mm-hmm. They can just look at it outside. It can become a tourist place.
That's why he's my favorite Knick of all time.
He's a little bitter.
Well, rightfully so.
But Van Gundy's saying that they should do it anyway because he deserves it.
Yeah.
So who's right? Do you listen to Oakley because it's his number? Do you think Van Gundy has a point?
In my dream world, okay, because I have this dream every once in a while. Shit for Brain sells the team, okay, to Spike Lee and a couple of his friends. Right. Jeff Van Gundy becomes the coach, and Patrick Ewing and Charles Oakley are assistant coaches, and they retire Oakley's number and have a memorial service for who was the other power forward that Anthony Mason. Yeah. So, I mean, look, Oakley, rightfully so, he has a beef with James Dolan. And I think a lot of people do. And I think it's going to take more people like Charles Oakley to take this stand. If Patrick Ewing took this stand and Spike Lee took this stand and a couple of the other big name Knicks, fans took this stand, you might actually pressure James Dolan to sell the team. That's what it's going to take. And look, half the Knicks fans nowadays don't even remember who Charles Oakley is. But if you're of a certain age and you remember the Knicks, then Charles Oakley is the equivalent to the Knicks of what Thurman Munson was to the Yankees back at that time, or Gary Carter was for the Mets, or the list goes on and on. It's just he was the heart and soul of that team,
and he's not welcome there.
And he's not welcome
at Dolan's hand.
And look, the recent actions with Ewing, I don't think Ewing was making a fuss out of nothing. I think it was a repeated affair of the mentality at Madison Square Garden is one of, it's a fascist regime. Yeah. If you say you can't criticize the owner of the New York Knicks.
No,
can't. The Knicks are taking a step in the right direction. They got a good coach. I think their front office has changed, but there's still this dark cloud in the ownership. And until that changes, there's always going to be that possibility of him tainting something. And the thing that pissed me off most about the Oakley incident when it first happened was Dolan had the nerve 3 days later to get Latrell Sprewell and Larry Johnson to sit next to him at Madison Square Garden. And Latrell Sprewell and Larry Johnson, fuck you for doing it. That's what I think about all this. Because you would never have seen John Starks or Patrick Ewing or Derek Harper or any of those other guys doing that. No. That was a PR move, and it was bullshit. And look, he's a toxic black cloud over a once great organization. And yes, I'm excited about where the Knicks are going to go, but it's still owned by James Dolan. And until that changes, I don't think you're going to see the Knicks make the strides they need to make. And I don't think you're going to see, because there are people who do understand what Oakley's saying. A LeBron James, a Kevin Durant, the guys who kind of know James Harden, the guys who know the history of the NBA, they know that. Right. There's a reason why all the big name free agents went to Brooklyn and not to Manhattan.
Mm-hmm. Case in point. There you go. Just on the side.
If I had my 2 cents, I don't think it's going to change until the fans stop going. When you stop filling up Madison Square Garden, regardless of how good or bad the Knicks are, that's when they start losing money.
Yeah.
That's when James Dolan will sell the team. I don't know, and I would love for Patrick Ewing and Charles Oakley and Spike Lee to have enough juice to get people to do that. But I don't think
Spike Lee started on that, last year. But then 2 years ago, and then the pandemic came, but he was hot too because he was mistreated. But it's going to take somebody like a Spike Lee who can get on the radio every day and on ESPN with Stephen A. Smith, and it's going to take those big name Knicks fans who are in the media both locally and nationally to protest before this happens. Now, I part of me almost wishes the Knicks were as horrible as they were last year because it would push Dolan out. But he was smart enough to change his front office. He was smart enough to get a coach that wasn't some sort of crazy experiment. It was a conservative choice, which I think did well for the Knicks. And the Knicks are doing a good job of being smart and holding their ground with who they are signing. They have not jumped too deep into overpaying for players past their prime, which has been the Knicks' problem in the past. Sure. So I'll give them credit where credit is due.
Still an opportunity for that to happen, though, because you don't know how much patience Dolan is going to have. And if history serves as the template, then it's not going to be very much. And he's going to make a dumb move like turning everything over to Isaiah or hiring Phil Jackson for,
Look, if you want Charles
$14 million a year.
If you want Charles Oakley's number retired, then James Dolan needs to go out publicly and make an actual apology to Charles Oakley and say, hey, look, I was wrong.
Yeah, but he won't do that because he doesn't think he was wrong. Right. That's the problem with all this. James Dolan believes he's infallible, and none of his moves were bad moves. It was so other people's fault.
In his mind.
Yeah. So I don't think I'm not gonna apologize. I didn't do anything wrong.
That's the problem.
And this is my team. I mean, he's the guy's a douche.
If I was Oakley, it would bode horrible on him for him to turn around and accept this. Come on. Yeah, Van Gundy understands it. He gets it. He understands. If there's anybody who understands the history and the culture of the Knicks, both good and bad, it's Jeff Van Gundy. And I think he wants it because it was an ex-player of his who he values very much, and he knows what it would mean to the Knicks fan. So he's talking as a Knicks fan in a lot of ways.
He said that if he was Mr. Dolan, he would retire his number and would have a ceremony with or without him. He said, I think his play, his impact on winning,
I can
his unique relationship with the fans warrants to have his number retired.
I can absolutely see it happening without Oakley there. And that would be a Dolan move.
Oakley said, they came to me and said they were going to retire my jersey. Do this and do that. And I'm like, nah, you can't buy me that easy. You retire the jersey that benefits you. It ain't benefiting me, he said.
I think he's absolutely right.
Yeah. But Dolan will look at it. He'll do it. And then he'll look at it as validation. Well, look, I'm doing the right thing here. And he's still being, an asshole.
Dolan doubled down on that whole scene. And that's where he went wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
And
his band sucks too.
By the way,
of course, no one's going to tell him that. But
by the way, Knicks lost by 2.
Yeah,
99-1.
And look, I'm not sure the Rangers are exempt from all this. The Rangers aren't necessarily moving in the right direction either. So
they usually have been exempt from the Dolan nuttiness, though.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Rangers,
because he doesn't go to the Rangers games.
Right.
I heard they all got COVID vaccines, like on the same day, like yesterday, or
good.
Well, it's good, but the guys, I think it was on the Michael Kay show, and LaGreca was saying, yeah, now they're all going to have sore arms. They got a back-to-back coming up. They're all going to have.
They all
got
it at the same time,
because they all got the shots. They're like, maybe that wasn't the best idea. But
probably not. No.
Well, they're professionals. They're rubbing some cream on it or whatever. It'll be fine.
Again, they're hockey players. People used to have their teeth knocked out. And they just used to scoop them up off the floor.
Yeah,
and put them in
tape them back in and go to play. Yeah.
Well, who the hell was the guy that unwired his own jaw because he wanted to play?
I don't know.
It was a couple years ago. Jeez,
I don't know.
Yeah,
I still look at some of those jaw. The
doctor had him wired up, and he wanted to play, and the doctor said, "No, I'm not ready to take the apparatus off," and he took it apart himself, went out and played.
Oh, jeez. Only a hockey player would do that. So, well,
all right.
On another note, on the Nets side of things, the Nets beat the Pelicans 139-111 today. So,
yeah. Here's you ready for my headline?
Give me your headline.
Here's the headline that I thought I'd never say, or maybe that none of us ever thought we would say. Mm-hmm. This is NBA, right from the NBA website. Top stories: Kyrie Irving a stable force, even as Nets lineups waver.
Yeah. Well,
without Durant, without Durant and with Harden out now, who I guess is going to be out another week. They're saying, Kyrie Irving has been there and been the guy, and no one is really questioning the brilliance of his play anymore. But if he doesn't get his at least one of those guys back, and he is the man, I think that's a position he doesn't really want to be in. He's very happy being the super talented, amazing shooting guard and not being the focus that much. He doesn't want to be the number one guy. He doesn't want it on his shoulders, I don't think. And probably the longer that goes on, the more likely we are to see him.
But the reality of it is I think Harden will be back. I think the bigger question is, will Durant be healthy for the playoffs? I don't think Harden's injury is. It's a hamstring. You don't really know what's going to go on there, but I think it's just going to take some time and some rest.
Yeah.
And look, that guy's had a lot of tread worn off his tires this year. The Nets are a team, unlike some of those other teams that Harden has played for, that Durant not so much, but that Kyrie has played for. This team has enough talent and depth that they're pretty much, with the exception of maybe the Sixers in the East, they're going to win every night.
Well, look, here's Durant's numbers from today.
Yeah, he scored 17 points. He shot 5 of 5 from the field.
5 in 19 minutes.
He was plus 22 in 19 minutes.
Jeff Green was also plus 22. LaMarcus Aldridge was plus 22. Joe Harris was plus 25. And Irving was plus 29.
Look, the key to the Nets is that Green is playing pretty well. Again, a guy who doesn't have to be the second or third option that he was forced into in the past. Yeah. And Joe Harris is having a career year as that guy. When you look in, it's either Harden and Irving, or if in the future it's going to be Harden, Durant, Irving, where he is just sitting out there planted at the 3-point line, and he's the obvious choice to leave open. He shot 6 of 9 tonight, 2 of 4 from 3-point, 14 points, plus 25. I mean,
and you talk about Bruce Brown. And you go, why is he in there? He's in there for defense.
Look, and I told you, LaMarcus Aldridge still has all-star. He's a starter. He played 23 minutes, shot 8 of 12, 4 of 4 from the free throw line, 2 of 2 from 3-point line, plus 22 points. I mean,
a couple of blocks, a couple of assists.
Yeah. The Nets are there's no doubt the Nets are the team to beat. Now, the team that surprises me that still continues to play really, really well, and I think it also has to do with the fact that they're deeper than you think they are the Sixers. And I think that is boding to be the Eastern Conference Finals. In the West, I think the teams are going to beat each other up a little bit more to get there. And I think it's a toss-up. Unless the Lakers are super healthy, I don't think it's a shoo-in for the Lakers or the Clippers. I think the Nuggets are peaking. They've made some good moves at the trade deadline. Right. And let's not forget that Utah and Phoenix are pretty damn good teams that happen to have the best records in basketball.
Yeah. So Utah and Phoenix have won 9 out of 10. The Clippers and Nuggets have won 8 out of 10. Yeah. In their last 10 games. And the Lakers are 4-6.
And I think any of those teams would be interesting against the Nets. I still think against any of those teams in the West, the Nets, if healthy, are the favorite. But I would love to see a Nets-Nuggets. I mean, I think that would be really, really entertaining.
That would be
basketball.
The Lakers are hopeful that AD is returning after this current road trip.
And what's LeBron really going to be like?
If the Lakers are whole, well, listen, LeBron probably, assuming he is healed and comes back, he should.
That's what I mean.
Because he's LeBron, he's got enough experience.
Well, and he get a little bit of rest. I think the same thing.
Right. Yeah, it'll be good for him.
I'm not sure. This could be a little cynical. I'm not sure Harden would be sitting right now necessarily if he didn't know Durant was coming back.
You think?
Probably for a few more games because he came back. Harden came back and lasted he lasted about 4 minutes. And
I think he's hurt.
Look, they were winning without him. So
the Nets are deep.
As long as you're winning, and look, maybe the Nets want to win. Maybe they want the best record. Maybe they'll be happy with the second best record. You got to figure they're going to run into Philadelphia at some point, right?
I think you're right. I think that's going to be I think that's your Eastern Conference Finals. It has to be, right? They're going to be 1 and 2, no matter who's 1 or who's 2. They're going to be 1 and 2, right?
Yeah, it's doubtful that somebody else is going to be in the top 2.
It just seems like everybody in the East, including the Sixers, is just playing 500 basketball. Even the Bucks, they're 6-4 in their last 10. Sixers are 6-4 in the last 10. Yeah, Embiid's back. I get it. everybody else below that is just playing 500 basketball.
Right.
They just are playing 500 basketball. And Miami's not the team they were last year. The Celtics certainly are. I think the one team that is a surprise, and I'm not sure I would want to face in the first round, is the Hornets. I mean, I think they're better than the Heat. I think they're better than the Celtics. I think they're better than the Knicks. And I think the Hornets in Atlanta, whoever gets that fourth spot, has an opportunity to make it a couple rounds in the playoffs. Atlanta's playing pretty good basketball.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they're inconsistent though.
The whole East is inconsistent.
Everything is, yeah. But hey, well, you know what? It's the Knicks are in. The Knicks are actually in
8th
right now. So season ends right now. They're in, but yeah, and that was based on tonight too. They won tonight. They started the night in 7th, so they lost their way to 8th. But well, I think you're right about a lot of it. Like I said, I think they're going to be 1 and 2. So no matter what order they finish in, that's going to be Eastern Conference Finals, and it would be interesting. I mean, I don't know how healthy the Lakers are going to be.
I'm looking forward to the whole NBA playoffs. I would really like to see whether it's the finals or the second round, which it'll probably be the finals. Right. I'd really love to see the Sixers and the Nets play because I think it's going to be more. I think the Sixers are going to give the Nets a run for their money. I think the Nets are too deep if they're healthy. Right. But
Sixers are big and they've got talent.
The Nets are playing without arguably the best player in basketball. You can't say adding Kevin Durant. It's like it's almost the equivalent of saying, the Portland Trailblazers were really good, but they've been playing all year without Clyde Drexler in his prime. I mean, it's that big of he's that good of a player.
Right.
Yeah. He's just so efficient. He's so efficient. He doesn't need the ball in his hand all game long. Right. And if Joe Harris is your fourth option in a go-to game, and by the way, LaMarcus Aldridge is open.
Yeah.
It's stupid at this
point. Those two that Eastern Conference Finals, those two teams could beat each other up. And whoever comes out of it will be victorious.
That's why the Nets
could be bloodied.
Because Aldridge can cover Embiid. He can also float and play big when, if they do get, beyond that for some of I think he might be the biggest acquisition in the trade deadline. I think you're going to see Aldridge put up some big numbers, especially now that you're not going to be able to double him. Are you going to double him and leave Kyrie Irving open for a 15-footer?
Right.
That's a dominant starting lineup, or wherever they wind up going. But I think in the playoffs, depending on matchups, if they play against the Sixers, you're going to see hopefully Durant, Harden, Irving, Harris, and Aldridge. That's an incredible starting five. Mm-hmm. And maybe Aldridge comes in as a sixth man and Green starts. Depending on it's interesting.
Yeah. And listen, you got Claxton, who's good defensively. You got Blake Griffin, who's going to give you a few minutes. Yeah, this is DeAndre Jordan didn't play today, which we might see a little bit more of, at least for a few more games. They try and get Aldridge sort of into the mix a little bit. But
sure,
yeah, this is such a deep team.
Yeah, deep is beyond. The only teams that I remember being this deep were like the Lakers and Celtics in the 80s. These are the only teams that I remember being this deep. When you had Bob McAdoo coming off the bench as your seventh guy, or Danny Ainge is your backup point guard in Boston. And the Nets have the benefit of knowing that if for unforeseen reasons one of their big three gets hurt, they know that those other two can play together and still carry the team.
Right.
But I hope for Durant's sake he's healthy. I want to see all three of them play because I think it's going to be a big test. And
what's the other thing? Can they get enough? Look, I don't think it'll be too much of a problem for them to integrate, so to speak.
It won't be a problem.
But they've played 7 games altogether So I mean that is not what the Nets imagined.
Yeah. When they'll integrate. Yeah,
I mean, I know Harden wasn't there from exactly the beginning of the season, but they would have imagined that they would have played more than 7 games together. But
a little bit.
Yeah, it would be nice if they had another half a dozen or so playing all together before you head into the playoffs.
And I think, well,
they got what? They got 20 games left. 20 games.
They say Harden will be out for 10 days. So that's what, 6 games? So I mean,
not even.
Yeah. So
5.
Yeah.
4 or 5. Could be 6, depending on this.
And look, these guys are veterans. Even if Harden's played enough with the rest of the team, if it's going to help to prolong him to sort of rest him, he played how many years with Kevin Durant? They know each other. These guys are.
No, I don't.
It's not like they're going to be working on their help defense schemes in practice.
No, I don't. I don't think it'll be a problem. But
they don't even have contact practices anymore in the NBA.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's. I think it's. Yeah.
You do. Me too.
I just don't think anybody's going to beat him.
I don't either.
I was also just watching the Yankees. Gio Urshela get thrown out at home plate as the Yankees lose in 11 to the Orioles.
Yeah. Well, what is it? Are they playing right now? No. With the fact that the Sixers did not play today, the Nets are now in first place.
Half game ahead of them.
Half game ahead. Yeah.
I mean, there's a great game on right now. Suns and Jazz.
Jazz. Yeah.
If you guys want to stay up till 2:00 your time, you can watch that game.
Yeah, one thing you could actually say though is, if Kevin Durant hadn't been out, we might not be talking quite as much about James Harden as in the MVP role.
Yeah,
it's possible.
Because they're right here now. They're saying without Durant in the lineup, 11-2 last month. Irving leading the league in scoring at 30.2, and Harden 11.5 assists. So both of those numbers would have been a little bit lower if Kevin Durant
wasn't out. Yeah, very true. Very true.
Yeah. Interesting. Not. I mean, I'd rather he was there, but
sure.
But look, I think the rest of the country has finally come around. But I still say Nikola Jokic is the MVP at this point. It's
there's certainly a big case for it.
He's having a hell of a year.
Yeah. So.
And I think a couple things worked in his favor. I think obviously Embiid's being hurt and out. I wonder, has there ever been anybody who's won an NBA MVP with being traded in the middle of the year, like Harden?
I don't know.
Has anybody started the year on one team and then won the MVP?
I'm not sure. We could check.
Get Jimmy on that.
Jimmy, check those stats.
Jimmy, wake up!
We all look. Me and Pete look this way. Jimmy. Harry looks that way.
Jim.
Well, that's because he's in a different part of the country.
That's true. He's actually on the other side over here.
Gotta love it.
All right. What else?
Well, there you go.
Anything from hockey?
Hockey, yeah. Some players played some things.
We talked about hockey. The Rangers got their COVID shots.
We did. No, not the Rangers. Was it the Rangers? No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was the Rangers.
Rangers got the COVID shots. Yeah. I mean, they're coming down. I mean, Maple Leafs have fallen back into. I don't know if the Maple Leafs have fallen back into it. I mean, there's 40 games played. There are 27 wins. They get 57 points, but Colorado's got 56 points. Florida's got 56 points, and the Capitals are at 54 points with the Islanders tied.
The Islanders made a nice move, too, with Palmieri. I mean, I think that's going to help them. The Islanders are 25-10.
Yeah.
Tied for the top spot in the East, points-wise.
Get it right, the Mass Mutual East. All right.
No, I don't, yeah.
It's the Mass Mutual East. But, yeah.
Not the Southeast A division?
No. It's the Mass Mutual East, the Discover Central, the Honda West, and the Scotia North.
You know what the really big story is in the Mass Mutual East is the fact that Buffalo's won 2 games in a row.
They have.
I think did they lose 16 or 17 straight, right?
Yeah, they did. They lost a lot straight, and most of them to the Islanders.
Yeah.
That's how come the Islanders have 54 points right now.
This is true
because they played Buffalo 6.
Well, that's also how come the Capitals have 54 points
too.
Yeah.
Oh, look, you got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 teams with 50 or more points.
Yeah, and if you look at wins, 26, 26, 26, 25, 25, 24,
27, 24,
26, 35. Yeah, I mean, it's...
Maple Leafs, so they still in the lead, but like just by 1 point and 1 win. That's it.
Well, three points, right? Oh no, one over the Panthers.
One over the Panthers and the Avalanche.
Yeah. Yeah, the Avs are looking good. I mean, fans, they're starting to let a limited amount of fans back into, I still want to call it the Pepsi Center. Now it's called Ball Arena.
The Ball Arena.
Yeah, but
it's the Pepsi Center.
It's McNichols Arena, yeah. But yeah, it's I think it's going to be interesting. I don't know. Are they going to start with the goalie out of the net in overtime for hockey, where you just you have to?
No, you put one in overtime. You put one player at the goal with the goalie. So if the puck comes in, he's got that.
I still can't get over these new Major League Baseball overtime extra inning rules. I mean, I think the Yankees have lost 2 games because of this bullshit.
Overtime. They actually put a bigger net on the ice.
Colorado is plus 50 in goal differential.
Yeah.
Nobody else. Well, you got Vegas is plus 34, Tampa Bay is plus 35.
Yeah,
but those are the closest guys. 15 goals back.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Huge differential. Yeah. And what was the other night? The Islanders? They won a game. Was it 8 goals or 12 goals or something? Like that?
Oh, they're definitely the Devils. I think have given up because they're
the Rangers. Rangers, my bad. Rangers beat Pittsburgh 8-4. So
yeah, the Avs are actually losing right now 4-3. But hockey, I don't know. I can't keep up with all this stuff. And
you know what? I got to do this actually.
What about?
You change from NBA to
NCAA.
Just have to put it up for a second there.
What about NCAA women's and men's finals?
Well, that's where we were next. We have to finish that up by saying, congratulations to Stanford and Baylor, respectively. What'd you think of? What'd you think of UConn losing to whatchamacallit on?
I thought it was. I mean, I think both those other teams played better, and I thought UConn was ripe for the picking.
Yeah,
if you really look back at UConn, it's been a while since they were winning, 4 years in a row or whatever it was. They've lost. Yeah. They've been to the Final Four every year, but this is the 5th year in a row. I think they didn't make it out of the Final Four.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, Stanford just played. They were the deepest team.
Yeah.
I think they were the biggest team. I think and they just seemed to play the best.
They did.
Team game.
They did. They definitely did. And I was a little shocked that Gonzaga didn't play a little bit better than they did.
I wasn't. I mean, I think I was the only one who didn't pick Gonzaga to win. So I just didn't feel it from them. I thought they just didn't have the.
I think they were worn out.
Yeah,
I think that
it could be.
I think that
they had a bad game.
I think that UCLA game took it out of them. Took a lot out of them. Yeah,
it definitely did. It definitely did. The UCLA game definitely took it out of them.
And Baylor came out and handed it to them. They came out and were much more physical, and they sort of dominated them. And that was it. The game was kind of over after the first quarter or first half.
Yeah. They got it to 9 or 10 at one point, but just I mean, Baylor was what, the number 2 overall?
Yeah,
right. They were number 1 in their grouping, but number 2 overall. So. It's not like they were a bunch of schlockers out there.
Mm-mm.
That's too bad. I wanted to see that history being made in my lifetime, but
what was the history of the undefeated team?
Undefeated and winning the I mean, look, Indiana happened during my lifetime, but I don't really remember it. I don't think I was watching it when I was 10.
Yeah.
Which we call, and then what is it? Matthew Meyer from Baylor. He got the award for best mullet. So,
yeah,
always without a doubt.
That was
which is weird because usually when you think of a school that's going to have a mullet and a shitty mustache, it's Gonzaga.
He would think he'd be Gonzaga.
He looks like he should play for Gonzaga.
Yeah. Where do you rank the Gonzaga UCLA amongst the great games in NCAA history? Because I thought it was a tremendous game.
It was a good game, yeah.
It was a good game. It's up there. I don't know if it's. I don't think it's the best, but it's definitely.
It wasn't a championship game, but
Right.
Well, all 4 of the semifinal games in the men's and women's were pretty good games.
Yeah, they were. It was good basketball this weekend. That's for sure. But only one team can win from each, and there you go. Congrats to.
And the good thing is that we don't have to listen to Bill Walton until October.
Turn on your light.
True story.
I actually like Bill Walton.
Yeah, nice kid. Well, congratulations to Stanford women and the Baylor men. So there you go.
There you go. All right.
Our intensive NCAA breakdown.
Our intensive NCAA.
Yeah, they shot pretty good, and the other team was tired.
There was good games. They were played well. 2 teams won.
I mean, look,
What more can you say?
They were great, but you're not going to be talking about Timmy the way you're talking about Grover Cleveland in his 787 complete games.
In one season,
he also won 3 NCAA championships.
He did
basketball, even though he wasn't even in college
in one season.
Is Grover Cleveland Alexander our benchmark from now on?
Grover Cleveland Pete Alexander is our benchmark.
Jordan was pretty good, but he's no Grover Cleveland Alexander.
Cy Young was hard on himself because he actually pitched 9 innings in his first 487 games.
I think we should change you, not Radio Pete anymore. You're Radio Grover.
That's it.
Yeah, Cy Young might have had 600 wins if he hadn't pitched 9 innings all the time.
That's right.
Exactly.
Wimp. Yeah.
I don't understand these pitchers, these old school pitchers.
Yeah.
I'll never understand them.
Ridiculous.
Anyway. All right. Well, I guess we should wrap it up then for today.
That's all I got.
Wrap it up.
Wrap it up. I want to let everybody know, too, next Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time will be our special, our first guest on the, not if you count Patchman Phil that night, but our first guest.
I don't.
I don't, yeah. Our first guest interview on Mets Corner. We'll be having the gentleman that invented the K Corner at Shea Stadium for Doc Gooden back in 1984. He will be telling us all about how that all unfolded and what the Mets did for him and the experience it was, and to have his K, retired to Cooperstown. So it should be an interesting show. So check that out. 7:30 Eastern Time next Monday evening. All right. Well, Should be an interesting show. All right. Well, we'll wrap the show up for today. I want to thank everybody for watching, and for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.loggerroom.com. That's LAGERROOM.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our YouTube channel. All of them are at The Logger Room. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at 7:30. For those of you that want to just listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, and Stitcher. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you will never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a wonderful rest of your week, a great weekend. Take in as many baseball games and basketball and hockey as you can, and check them all out. Enjoy them all. Check out our show next Monday night with the interview, and we will talk to you next week, guys. Cheers. Take care.
Jimmy, get on those stats. We need them stats.
Look at the little Tula. She's talking to the producer there. Talking to a cat. And a woman in a jumpsuit throws her a grapefruit. By George,